I didn't put. See, how come sometimes you can edit it, sometimes you can't? It's so weird on Twitter, but whatever. Doesn't matter. X, whatever you want to call it these days. But again, thank you guys for being here. I'll hit the chat real quick. So Tetron, 4 billion in the bank. Scott, you know what's up, brother. Yes, sir. Still plenty of cash. John Y, what up, what up? Got 1,000 shares. Damn, best friend got 6,500. How about that? Annual call today was weird. Lawyers talking, BlackRock and New York City comptroller making their DEI claims, no guidance, which is okay. Yeah, Scott, I'm definitely about to roll into that here because there's definitely a lot of different opinions, and obviously it's a time period where a lot of people are talking about what's going on, and you have new people, you have people who've been around a while, the quote veteran apes, right, as they say on Superstonk, but everyone's going to have an opinion, right? And that's what the internet is. It's really just everyone having an opinion at the end of the day. But if you guys don't already, follow me on X at TetraInvest because just like how everyone else has an opinion, I have an opinion. So I like to share it on here. So I do appreciate you guys to follow me on there. Kind of tweet updates about the stream, right? Like I tweeted out when this is me holding GameStop, right? Like how this guy is right here. This is literally how it feels after all these years. Like being through the ride this past few days, they're like, yeah, or past few weeks, like, yeah, nothing I ain't used to, right? And the next stream for this week, we'll have to see. My schedule's moving around a little bit, and then in a couple weeks, I'm going to be away for 2 weeks, so there's going to be pretty much no streams unless I do a quick one on my phone while I'm away, or I wind up bringing my laptop where I'm going. I don't know, but yeah, that'll be exciting, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. But feeling bummed, Ryan Cohen needs to let GME squeeze and rip to reward those who have been here supporting him. It'd be nice to cash some shares now and still maintain shares for the long term. Michael, I think that's a fair point. I'm about to get into all of it right here. In short, Ryan Cohen could be a hero standing up to the short hedge funds rather than a pussy. Michael, I see what you're saying, brother. I see what you're saying, but give me a moment here. I'm going to get into it. Ryan Cohen's speech went hard as fuck. Yeah, 420 bong smoke. Thank you for being here. I also do have that right here, and we're going to go through that as well. Maybe that'll be the first thing we go through, right? No sell, no sell. No name. Thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so we'll get right into it, right? Talking about the shareholder meeting. Number one, Proposal 4 did not pass. For those of you that are not aware, Proposal 4 was essentially making it so that the board of directors had to qualify their official race, gender, and basically just have what they called like a board matrix, just basically showing they have diversification in the company. In my opinion, it was a ridiculous proposal because I look at it very simply. It doesn't need to be a complicated thing, right? Oh, we need diversity, right? No, you never like exclude in any which way, like, oh, I don't want to hire this person because they're this or that. You just simply, is this person the most capable for the job? You strictly base it on that. And I think that's what GameStop does. Is this person a hard worker? Is this individual in line with the core beliefs of the company? Remember that letter Ryan Cohen wrote to the board? Or sorry, he wrote to shareholders, or sorry, again, he wrote to all employees when he became CEO, basically saying you should treat company cash as if it's your own. So, with all that being said, I really think it's important that Proposal 4 didn't pass because it could have potentially led to a new board member that, if not appointed by Ryan Cohen, we look at the board that was there prior to Ryan Cohen's takeover, and it wasn't very good, right? And there were some interesting ties that the board had to some certain private equity funds, right? But that's a whole conversation itself. So, with that being said, to me, I just care about the people doing a good job and leading the company's success on the board of directors. And, I understand definitely some people are feeling bummed out right now, but the truth is, right? Like nobody that's been here a while, I think, really expected too much today. Part of me did in a way. I was like, okay, maybe this is the time we're gonna hear something because they just raised all that cash. Like that's a differentiating factor at this point. And I thought I had one more tweet pulled up here. Maybe I forgot to, but I was replying to what Badass Trader had put out. Let's see, where was I? I don't know. I tweeted so much today. So much going on. So he said, my take on what Ryan said: building shareholder value over the long term, continued cost reduction, revenue without profits are no good to anyone. Investments in this inflationary climate should be held to higher return on investment standards considering rates. So long-term value, short-term profits, picky with investments. Sound good to me. And that honestly, like after today's call, my honest reaction is what I put right here. I honestly think they're waiting for a market crash type of situation before making any acquisitions. And just what Ryan Cohen said on the stream alone really echoed that. So Ryan Cohen's speech at the shareholder meeting today, if you didn't hear it, I want to take a moment and discuss the retail business and future of GameStop. With respect to retail operations, we plan to continue reducing costs and focusing on profitability. So that's been a common theme. We hear it again here. Revenues without profits and prospects of future cash flows are no value to shareholders. This means a smaller network of stores with an expanded assortment of higher value items that fit into our trading model. So one, they're going to focus on just maintaining profitability. And then two, basically saying here we're prepared to close more stores if necessary and ensure that we are consistently profitable in going forwards. And then beyond that, they also mentioned the higher value items. I definitely want to see them do more of that. And I think another great way to do more with it, and obviously this takes time, and I don't think this is just make or break for them, but just doing more with private label brands. Like we saw what they did with CandyCon. It's a start, right? Do I have them pulled up on here? I do not, but it's a start. It's not like mind blowing, like, oh my god, yeah, they're saved, everything's great now. But they need to do more with CandyCon, number one. And number two, I really want to see them ultimately just do more private label brands from within and things relating to gaming, technology, anything, other their own general umbrella of products. And then having a strong balance sheet, especially in times of economic uncertainty, is a strategic advantage. While the future is always uncertain, the last decade's monetary and fiscal policies, both within the US and globally, are historic anomalies. So this is really like this part right here. It's funny. DFV is into the chat. I didn't see that till now, but this part right here is really what made me think this. Because why else would he indicate that? Like he's talking about general economics when it's a GameStop shareholder conference call. Yes, it is relative, but it seems to me like that was very, very intentional. He didn't just say that for the sake of saying it, right? So, with that being said, to me, I think he's saying like we are not going to just make an acquisition for the sake of making an acquisition or just to be able to boost top line revenue and then net income doesn't move. Like we care about net profits in the long run, and then also further on down here, you'll see a focus on long term. Having a strong balance sheet, especially in times of economic uncertainty, is a strategic advantage. While the future is always uncertain, the last decade's monetary and fiscal policies, both in the U.S. and globally, are historic anomalies. So, considering he's calling it a historic anomalies, two historic anomalies, then you would think they're waiting for the right opportunity, right? And they have a strategic advantage. I do believe that is correct in having so much cash on their balance sheet right now. And then for those saying like, oh, why would they dilute right now? This is where you trust in the management team in that despite 2 rounds of dilution recently, right? Like the stock price is still up about 150% off its lows, right? Because it went from roughly $10 and it's still at $25 today. And we were at even higher points throughout the last few weeks, right? So also looking at that, the last share offering, they sold 75 million shares into the market over a 3-day trading period. They announced it on a Friday morning. It closed on a Tuesday afternoon. So that's only 3 full trading days. You had Friday, Monday, Tuesday. And this was from the 7th to the 11th. And then prior to that, and also that, by the way, that brings them to 4.15 billion in cash, roughly, and $9.62 per share. So, and they sold these shares at an average of 28.49, higher than where we are right now. And beyond that, they currently have they're in a spot where if they just have that cash and marketable securities, just high interest income assets such as like treasury bills or like a high yield savings, a money market account, they're going to earn roughly 205 million, 207 million dollars per year on this amount. Obviously, interest rates are subject to change, but for the time being, while they're deciding what the next move is, waiting for the right opportunity to come around, then they do have some accumulation of cash going on. And I think we'll start to see that over the next few quarters. And a quick side note, GameStop's website's not working right now, or the investor relations part of it at least. So that's interesting. Oh, I forgot to put on the lamp. Probably got bad lighting, but it was that awkward time when I started streaming where it's like kind of light out, about to get dark, but like having the light feels a little too early to have the light on. But then you don't have the light, looks a little dark on stream, right? But it's all good, guys. It's all good. I appreciate you guys being here. So where I'm going with all this, and the last share offering was still completed in 6 days as well. That was only 45 million, so they completed more shares sold in a shorter period of time during the last one, right? And I'm going to get into some stuff. I'm sure you guys have seen it that have been reading around about Berkshire A and how that might be tied to GameStop. This is all theoretical, a little bit of tinfoil, so we'll get to that later. But at this point, right, like I tweeted out earlier today, Sorry, I'm all over the place, guys. Such a busy weekend. I got to do less on the weekends. Grind more on YouTube. Slacking. But GameStop stock falls as soon as the meeting starts. Truth is, nobody who's held the stock for the past couple of years is surprised by this because it's been the same song and dance. Anytime something's been anticipated for GameStop, the stock price falls. You can see literally at exactly 12:30, it starts dropping. Right here. See, 12:29, boom. See, we're kind of floating, or we're dropping down a little bit, right? Sideways, right at 12:30. We go from 27 all the way down to a low of 24, like during the shareholder meeting. So during a 20-minute span, just a big time, like 10-15% drop. And, recovered a little bit to end the day, mostly moved sideways to that point, but we've seen the same song and dance so many times, right? And when I say we, I mean general people, individuals out there who follow the stock for a long time. It's been the same song and dance where, and it's funny, this line I happen to have drawn pretty much actually exactly lines where it bottomed out, right? Because on the 1 year chart, I'm not a big TA guy, but very simple here. It does still look like we're holding a general uptrend. If tomorrow's massively red, or even like 5-10%, we'll definitely break that. But, tomorrow's even a little sideways, slightly green, still generally holding that uptrend, right? You can take that with the utmost grain of salt. I'm not trying to suggest any particular, just food for thought there, but it's no different this time that the share price drops when there's anticipation of anything, right? And those that are maybe newer to the stock, haven't been around in a while, this is just typical for GameStop. That's just the reality of it. And yes, there was the thought that maybe they were going to share some information today about what their plan is to go forwards. And I want to be clear that I'm not totally against the idea of them sharing the plan, but what I've realized is looking at the big picture, trying to take a step back, digest everything. Everything's still pretty fresh. The meeting was just today, right? So my opinion's obviously subject to change. Your opinions could change, right? And that's just the way she goes sometimes. But having said all that, when you look at the time from when Ryan Cohen got involved in GameStop to now, he has been consistent in that we're not going to telegraph our plans. Like, you're going to basically have to trust within the management team. And I get that. It's not for everyone, right? Like, I think some people, like definitely swing traders, say, oh, GameStop's about to explode to 1 or 200. The gamma ramp's insane. I can't wait to make a bunch of money. GameStop is not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a get rich quick anything, right? I think in the long term, those that are invested will do very, very well. Of course, that's just my personal opinion, and nothing's for certain, right? If there's anything this journey's taught me, nothing's ever for certain. But that's just the reality of what it is with GameStop. If you're holding GameStop, like, it's not that I necessarily want it this way. Like, I'm not opposed to them putting out guidance and what their plan is to move forwards. But the reality of it is that you have to believe in the management team if you're invested in this company. And if you don't and you have doubts, then maybe it's not the investment for you, right? I'm not here to tell you what to invest in, how to go about things. Like, you really have to make your own individual decisions. But if it's a situation where, oh, I need to know what's happening with this stock, I need to know where the company's going, I don't just blindly trust Ryan Cohen, then it is what it is. That's all I'm saying, right? I'm not trying to present it in one way or the other, but the reality of it is that if after even raising cash, this was the time I thought maybe we're going to get some kind of guidance here, maybe some kind of direction in which the company's going to go, but we didn't, right? And that's after a massive cash raise of $3 billion or so over the past month. And honestly, like, I didn't think this was completely out of the question, right? Like, I did have a little bit of like thought or anticipation, like maybe we're going to hear something. However, I try to be very real to myself, and I'm at work thinking about this, trying to actually work, right, not just focus on GameStop all day. The reality of it was that this was a very likely outcome, right? And obviously hindsight's always 2020, but it really comes down to, and you look at Roaring Kitty stream, it really comes down to believing in the management team. If you don't believe in the management team, that's okay. Like, nobody's telling you what you have to do, but I definitely get where people are coming from, where they've been around a long time. You want to have some kind of understanding of where the company's going. But to me, like, reading between the lines and looking at Ryan Cohen's like brief interaction on the call today, basically saying we think the economy as a whole and markets as a whole are very unstable right now. So we want to be in a strong position in a market crash. And when we see fit, we'll be able to take advantage and make acquisitions, right? Obviously, he didn't specifically say that here, but that's my opinion. And I also think, they've already had a strong balance sheet. The idea of an acquisition has been floated for a long period of time. So it very much could have happened at this point already, right? Like, if there was something they were eyeing. And who's to say there weren't talks of some kind with XYZ company out there, right? The example I was using the other day, Tetron Slinkies, right? If they're like, oh yeah, I'm like, I'm selling these like hotcakes. GameStop, if you want to buy Tetron Slinkies from me, you want to make it part of the GameStop brand, it's going to be 300 million because these things are selling like hotcakes, right? But then Ryan Cohen and the board are like, we were looking to spend 150 million max. That's a huge difference of a number, right? And in the world we live in right now, at this current economic state, when you zoom out and just look at everything, everything is very relatively expensive, right? The differentiating factor, though, where the bulls, I call it like the forever bull market we're in lately in terms of just S&P, Nvidia. But what the bulls seem to say, right, is there's so much liquidity just flowing in and just so much money being printed that it flows to the top, it flows into assets as the money supply just continues to increase. So with that, you're going to see stocks keep going up and assets keep appreciating in value, right? But it's not just that black and white. Obviously, there's always going to be corrections at some point or another. And whether that's a minor correction or a major correction, it could present an opportunity for GameStop. That's all I'm trying to say here. And please, guys, always make your own individual decisions. Like, that's so important. And so many opinions that like up and down on X/Twitter today, where it's like some people are like, I can't believe this, oh my god, and other people are like, no, this is amazing. I'm kind of just like, I expected this, I'm okay with it, like it is what it is. Like I truly feel very like I know where I'm at, I know what I'm invested in, I understand the situation the company is in and how they're going about it. And when I kept accumulating shares the whole way down, my main belief was in the board of directors and specifically Ryan Cohen to ultimately bring the company to succeed in the future. And I understand some people are like, "Oh, I want it now. Like we need to see something now, now, now." I'm all right with it out with it not being now, right? That's all I can really say. And again, guys, this is just my reaction. You know, my opinion might change over time. See some different things, read some different things that kind of change things. But the reality of it is, and I had another person's post. I was emailing. What I do throughout the day is I email my stuff that I see on X or Reddit, like in between when I have a slow moment at work. I'm reading something. Oh, this is a good thing to talk about on the street. I email it to myself. Like half of my emails didn't go through today for some reason. Shout out badass trader. There was something else um, that he had said. I don't know, but long day, guys. Long days. Freaking Mondays are the worst. At least at my job, because there's just so much that starts happening on Mondays. But what was I gonna search? Oh my god. What was it? What was it? What was it? I can't remember. Okay, we're gonna come back in a minute. Damn, it's so warm in here. But yeah, let me see what you guys are saying in the chat, because I'm curious what everyone has to say, right? And just because it's my opinion doesn't mean it's right. I'm just again sharing what I think, documenting my own personal investment journey, and that's just how it goes. You know, anyone else is welcome to document in their own way, whether it's YouTube, X, whatever the case. So, yeah, man, it's getting so hot by me lately. It's about to be like 100 towards the end of the week. So crazy. See, hit like everyone. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. All right, let's get through everything here. I'm trying to go quick. I'm trying to be quick with the chat, but I don't know, guys. Crazy weekend for me too. I gotta chill. I gotta be chill. Having too much fun. A little too much fun, right? I mean, you know, granted, like that's okay, but Ryan Cohen tweets from Charles Hart. No sell, no sell. Thank God, issue 4 got voted down. I thought exactly the same. X1. That was the most happy I was. Thing I was most satisfied with was the fact that proposal 4 was voted down because that really genuinely would have worried me. How because oh yeah, we need diversity, right? But then maybe you put a bad actor in there in the sake of diversity, right? And it's kind of like a smokescreen type of thing. Plain and simple on issue 4, go woke, go broke. Kitty making no sense. C12, yeah, no, that is another thing we're gonna get to here as we kind of finish recapping the shareholder meeting. We're gonna get into Rowan Kitty's tweets today, a couple other opinions I saw out there, and then some stuff about Berkshire and potential connection to GameStop. Alleged, right? BRB gonna go get some mail. I perform criminal activity. John, thanks for being here. Lucian, what up? What up? Diamond hands, diamond arm, diamond rocket. Waiting for market crash. In the meantime, Ryan's oil shows are compromised of many moderate income individuals. Ryan needs to understand this. Thus, let's squeeze rip. Michael, I totally get that, but also you got to think from his perspective, it's really about just driving the company forward and bringing them to success. Not about any, and he's been very clear too that they're focused on the long term over any short term activity. And even if there was some short term squeeze, right? oh, he orchestrated it and his lawyer's knocking on his door. So it seems like there's a theory out there, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this, that the share issuance or issuances, because there was two, was partly to say like, look, we sold a bunch of shares into the open market, right? And on that note, which I don't think this is being, excuse me, talked about enough, when you look at the dailies, right? Okay, this doesn't want to work. Show me another company that can dilute 175 million plus 45, 120 million shares, right? Prior to that, what do they have, like 306? They sold almost 1/3 of the amount of shares they had existing into the open market, yet the stock is still up 150%, right? It went from $10 to $25 in this period of time. And throughout this, right, there have been two share issuances completed in record time. And people, oh, yeah, it's retail buying it. Give me a break. I don't think there's that many individuals just running for the door to buy GameStop right now. Yes, there are traders. Yes, there's people just getting involved with the stock. But there are a lot of people like myself, right? And again, I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for thyself. But there's a lot of people who have been buying shares this entire way. So you're going to tell me they all, like, there's people all just running in at this exact same time right here. And also look at the United States, like, average individual savings rate during this period where you had a lot of stimulus. The economy was just opening up again, after being shut down, totally an unprecedented event versus now. So to me, this just shows this is institutions that are buying. Those shares. Okay, so let me clarify. It's not that GameStop sold them directly to institutions, right? Or like, oh yeah, like an AMC dilution where they privately negotiate the sale of shares. GameStop's like, okay, we're going to sell them into the open market. But my opinion is that it's mostly institutions buying those up out of the open market, right? And I know I said we're going to touch on Berkshire a little bit later, but ever since that Berkshire glitch, right? Very interesting. So every day off exchange volume was like 95+% of volume for Berkshire. And the day of the glitch, sudden anomaly, right? Where not as much is off exchange, a lot of it is back on exchange suddenly, and kind of tailing off a little bit here. And what's even more interesting is for the past couple of years, Berkshire volume, and again, we'll get into more of this later, but Berkshire volume's been accumulating, going more and more and more. And then ever since the glitch, look how low the volume is. Isn't that odd? How much less volume there is suddenly? And if we zoom out even more, and it doesn't show back here, but the volume was even lower, right? And it's just been a steady climb upwards in terms of total volume daily on Berkshire. Because keep in mind, this is a $613,000 stock we're talking about here. How much is the volume is there really going to be? So I find it very interesting, right? I don't know exactly what it means. I'm not trying to say anything too specific, but it's interesting, right? It just seems odd, right? It seems very, very odd. And again, just like a lot of you guys out there, I'm digesting this in real time. I'm working every day. I'm trying to read about it all. I'm trying to, hang out on the weekend, live my life. But I'm a little mad at myself right now. I feel like I should have been doing more on the weekend to prepare for today, right? But at the same time, everything happened today. Everything's fresh. But yeah, I don't know. Just like everyone else, trying to balance it all out here. So, Dumb Money 2, Ryan Cohen, played by Ryan Gosling. C12, thanks for being here. Hit the like. Yes, sir, Scott. Appreciate that. Meow Meow Capital in the motherfucking house. Let's go. Dada plays, aka Meow Capital. Meow Meow Capital. What up? What up? Need to announce what they're planning to do with that money. Time zone. Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. Dip for the rip. D. That's all reliable, right? Dip before the rip, right? We are here. That Volkswagen chart you always see. Rip proposal 4. Ryan, yes, sir. Let's go. Thanks for being here. Yo, how about them Oilers the other night? That was crazy. They actually decided to show up for once. Proposal 4 equal affirmative action style corporate PC crap. Exactly. You invest in GME long enough, you'll realize predicting is impossible, and if it looks too public obvious, it rarely ever plays out. Facts right there. Let me read that again, Ryan. If you invest in GME long enough, you'll realize predicting is impossible, and if it looks too public or obvious, it rarely ever plays out. Exactly. That's why anyone today, I feel like that's been in a long time, it's like you look at the outcome of today and you're like, okay. Not something to be overly surprised about, right? I'm not saying I didn't. There was like a small part of me that thought maybe we're gonna get some guidance, maybe we're gonna get some insight into what happens next. But I did think like, okay, it's a very real possibility. Like it's just another day, right? Just another day in the long run of things. I also am starting to wonder if some of these YouTubers, not you, the ones that talk about mooning every day tomorrow, $100 shares, are actually being paid by the hedgies. Happy go lucky. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you clarifying. I want to be perfectly clear too to anybody that's like, oh, what are you doing? I have no intention. I'm not trying to pump GameStop in any way. In fact, you should not listen to anything I say You should go research it and make your own individual determinations. You shouldn't not listen to anything I say, but my point being, never, oh, Tetron said that. Let me go buy this. Let me go do that. No, you should never do that for me. You should never do that for anyone else out there. And that is a fair point, Happy Go Lucky. Because it's like, you always think of the other way, right? Oh, it's a shit stock, bad stock, right? Nobody cares about GameStop. But at the same time, like, a lot of mental games are played out there, and who's playing those games, who's orchestrating what, that is all for you to personally determine. But I definitely see your point there. I think it's a decent comment, and I get what you're saying. See how many videos I see GME Moon or something about AMC going to Pluto. X1, yeah, no, really, it's crazy. That's the thing too, right? You guys have to realize there's a lot of people, and I remember, oh, it's a myth. That's what I was going to talk about. This guy had an interesting post on it that I wanted to touch on, right? So Vlad. You've interviewed Vlad. All right, never mind. But let's see, where is he? Where's his GameStop? Let's see. One paragraph after this. Okay, yeah, this is the post I wanted to talk about. We'll get to that in a minute. But yes, there's so many people talking about it right now and saying it's this, it's that, and again, I'm not saying I'm just because I've been around a while in holding the stock and talking about it doesn't make me an expert by any means, to be perfectly clear. But suddenly, all these people coming out of the woodwork, like, oh, GameStop is this, GameStop is that. Oh my God, like trust me, gamma ramp, short squeeze, get rich quick. All these different ideas thrown out there, right? But what I do know is there's clearly demand for shares over these past few weeks because one, the price has gone from $10 to $25, and on top of it, 2 share issuances have been completed. 45 million shares issued over a 6-day period, average price of 20 something dollars a share. And then the craziest to me is, like, I don't think this is talked about enough how crazy this is. 3-day period where 75 million shares are sold into the open market at an average price of $28.49, and they raise like another. At what point was that total? I don't have the totals on here, but this one was roughly 2.137 billion. Like, that's insane. Like, what other company could do that and still be trading significantly higher, right? You think it would be falling, but having said all that, it's truly the most unique thing. And where you think the demand is coming from for the shares, that's up to you to personally determine. But there's no doubt that there's absolutely demand for the shares, considering that they issued a bunch of shares over this past month or so. And then on top of it, the price is still much higher than it was at this point. And I have a very hard time believing it'll go back to 10. I'm not saying it's impossible, but think about it. If it goes back to $10 a share, at this point in time, they have roughly $9.62 per share in cash. So if GameStop goes down back to $9.62, $10 a share, you're basically paying, if you buy a share, you're basically paying the price per share, what they have in cash available per share. And that's just remarkable, right? You don't see that a lot. And yeah, sure, there's some situations where you see that, but usually the company has a lot of debt. Look at what GameStop's situation is. They have very limited debt, literally like $10, $11 million left at this point on a 1% loan. And then they're also saying, like, we're going to close any unprofitable locations, right? So also, if you guys didn't see this, I still got to post this around, but you can see, like, look at how their net income changed. The blue is net income, the yellow is revenue from 2022 to 2023. Yes, the revenue going down is not ideal. I'm not trying to fluff that up and say, oh, wow, this is great. Oh, my God, I'm so happy revenue is going down. But if you can sacrifice revenue to ultimately improve the bottom line in the short term, I think that's okay. I genuinely think that's okay. And I get where some people are like, oh, the revenue's going down, right? But I feel like that's kind of ignoring that the bottom line is going up as a result of closing a lot of stores. Because yeah, they could have kept a lot of stores open over these past couple of years, and revenue, top line revenue, probably would be better than it is now. Not to say it necessarily still wouldn't have went down, but it probably wouldn't have went down as much, right? And when you think about that, it's like, okay, well, they closed stores, but then that improved the bottom line. If they didn't, then the bottom line would be dropping, wouldn't be improving at all. And on top of it, the top line would be falling a little bit instead of a lot of it, right? So I would rather sacrifice the revenue in the short term and then improve on the net income in the short term, right? And then ultimately, like, what they do have to do, though, to be clear, is find a way to scale, raise revenue, subsequently raise net income with it. And how they do that is to be determined. I'm starting to think more and more that their ultimate plan is to just accumulate as much cash as they can on the high interest securities in a high interest rate environment and keep padding the bottom line, because net income will absolutely be positive this quarter, I believe, given the amount of shares that were issued and how much cash they have at this point. And these are the margins, a little more silver linings. The gross margin was a little bit better year over year, and it's a very small amount. And then looking at SG&A, they're spending less, and I expect them to spend less throughout the remainder of this year as well. Kind of goes back to Ryan Cohen talking about, everyone should treat the company money as if it's their own. So we're kind of seeing that theme here as well. And again, it's nothing flashy. It's nothing like, oh my God, wow, they're doing something big, but they're in a spot where they can turn a net profit and then they keep accumulating cash until they see the right opportunity. And the truth is, nobody knows if that's going to happen tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day, the next day, 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 3 years from now. I don't know, right? And if I remember one part of Roaring Kitty's stream that he did, what was that, last Friday? No, 2 Fridays ago. I don't know, time is all jumbled together lately, right? So much has been going on for me, both within GameStop and just in my personal life. So whenever his stream was, part of it he said is like, turn around 3 years. It's not too long, right? If it's like 10, 15 years, then we're talking about a real long time if nothing's happened, right? So to me, that kind of says Roaring Kitty's time frame in terms of like the turnaround for GameStop, or where they'll be in terms of like when we talk about the long term, 10 plus years out, right? And I don't think it's going to take that long. Like, I don't think they're not going to do anything for the next 6 years, just to clarify. Of course, I can't predict the future, and we'll talk about DFE's tweet today in regards to that, because there's some speculation there, but it's all to be determined, right? And if you don't want to hold on, like, nobody's telling you what to do. Just to be perfectly clear, like, everyone always has to make their own individual decisions. If you see the better opportunity elsewhere with your money, you can go on and do that, right? But then just the nature of GameStop is it could drop a lot and then suddenly it could go up a lot, right? And you might be like, oh my God, I can't believe I chose to sell right now, right before it went up a lot. So you got to just do what's best for you at the end of the day. That's really the reality of it. Damn, it's so warm in here. Yes, all these videos every day saying tomorrow's the day. Hurry, last chance to get in. Exactly, happy go lucky. Exactly. Most of them are pretty small channels, I see, but Zip Trader has been terrible with the titles. Wouldn't be surprised if someone's paying him. Yeah, Zip Trader, I just watched this guy a while back. I mean, decent insights, but yeah, he's basically strictly presenting short-term trade ideas, and most of what he talks about is not really long-term stuff. So, and yeah, at the end of the day, there's just more clicks. It's a trending thing right now, so more and more people, right, are talking about it because they're, oh, okay, I'm going to get more and more clicks, more and more followers from this. A lot of stocks have been trading sideways, other than a few S&P 500 blue chips like Nvidia, Tesla, Apple, etc. It's easier for GME to catch the spotlight and traction than when the market was more volatile. Very true, Ryan. Very true right there. That guy sees AMC videos have been buried. Exactly. Yeah, he used to talk about AMC could go up a lot, right? And his name is like Charlie Platypus. I always read it as like Charlie Platypus. I don't know why, but the fact that Ryan Cohen gets the world is a bit wacky enough for me. That's a great point, 420 box smoke. And yes, sir, thank you for being here. Because yeah, if you think about it, like, we're at a state of the period of time, right, where think about this clip on Roaring Kitty's page. And we'll talk about that as well. Yo, why am I all over the place today, guys? So annoying. I might have to go get the fan. It's so warm in here. What was he gonna say? This clip. It's a damn masterpiece.
I think this just might be my masterpiece. I think this just might be my masterpiece.
There we go. Think about it. This was on CNBC.
Well, we're coming back with breaking news because the live stream has finally started. You can see that right there.
This is the state
about 28 or so minutes late.
What GameStop is that CNBC was like, okay, we're going to put this man's live stream live on our channel right now as it's starting. Think about how remarkable that is. And then on top of it, they're all talking about Ryan Cohen and what's GameStop going to do, right? If it was not a big story and it was truly like nothing going on, this is my take at least, then why would they keep talking about it? Why do they have to keep talking about it, right? They can't get GameStop's name out of their mouth. And you're right, that alone is pretty remarkable, right? And it's like, forget GameStop. I just bought more. Huh? What? Like, and people get so angry about it, right? And I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, guys. I do apologize, but shout out Fat Dad Dirk. I'm sure you guys have seen him. This guy has incredible beer and incredible cuisine always on his page too. Pretty dope. So this is the kind of guy I want running the company I invest in. I bought the dip again. So Ryan Cohen did technically give forward guidance. According to user/James Strog, double G, they will continue to close and wind down unprofitable sectors and stores with no future. They will continue to focus on higher earning stores with their profitable trade and business. They will work towards long-term shareholder value. They are not focused on the short term. And adding on this part right here, right? Focus on higher earning stores in their profitable trade and business. What I would like to see, and it's hard to know because we're not getting information on this, and this is part of me that's like I wish I knew a little bit more. What's going on with the Milan, Italy store? That's a flagship store, a new style store, a very experience-based store where you can do a lot in there. They have basically 3 floors. One is for streaming type of stuff. One is like your classic GameStop type of appearance, and then the third is about a lot of like board games and collectibles type of section. So what's going on with that? Why don't we maybe see more of those in other large cities, places with a lot of foot traffic? Because if you look up what the Milan, Italy store looks like for GameStop, it's very flashy if you walk by. So if you're a tourist walking by, all right, let me pop in GameStop, right? Or you're just a person walking by, like, this is cool. Like, I want to see what's going on in this GameStop. I haven't seen a GameStop like this. So while they can't put those type of stores everywhere, but in areas where there is high traffic, I feel like it's not a bad idea. And of course, I don't know exactly, and this is where you do have to ultimately believe in the management team, but just some food for thought there. And another side note, right, as we kind of get through everything here, and actions speak louder than words. So, some people are saying, well, we haven't seen any action, right? But again, I truly think they're just waiting for the right opportunity. Like the longer we wait, and especially after raising this cash, not telegraphing a plan, to me that just says the board of directors sees a market crash coming. Some point in the near to mid future, I don't know. Again, I'm just speculating here. So with that, I think they're really waiting for the right opportunity. They're not just going to go buy anything for the sake of buying it to say like we're buying this, we're doing this. It's like a double-edged sword, right? Because if they go do something now, yes, there's a lot of people happy. Finally, they're making a big move. Oh my God, what's next? But then they overpay for it, and that hurts their balance sheet. It doesn't improve the business as much as they thought, and then you have a market crash scenario occur. Not a very good spot, right? Whereas if they wait right now, a great opportunity opens up, whether it be like a market crash or just some kind of pullback or just decline in valuations, like how exactly it'll play out, I couldn't tell you. Let's say that happens, and then they go and buy a stock, or sorry, not a stock, but like another position of some kind. And if they do that, then at that point, so okay, wow, they got an amazing price point on this. And again, I'm just speculating, you guys here, so please take this with a grain of salt. I don't want anyone to, oh my God, Tetra's saying this, Tetra's saying that, but we are focused on building shareholder value over the long term. We are not here to make promises or hype things up. We're here to work. Thank you for being a shareholder. And listen, great things take time. What do they say? Rome wasn't built in a day, right? The reference I always hear a million times. I like laugh at it. But did anyone else hear this? Y'all realize the meeting? They said there were more votes than shares outstanding. I thought I heard this too. And I said, wait, unless I misheard it, because I read a bunch of comments. Some people say they said something more than the majority got voted. Confusing language for sure. It's possible I could have misinterpreted. Going to listen again. If you're telling me there's a chance. So it reminds me of this book I once read. It shared. They said more. I think that's supposed to be they. They said more votes than majority of shares out. Get out of here with these ads. More votes than majority of shares outstanding. Decisions made by more than 50%. Didn't they say the share count was done in April though? No, they did not. This misinformed social media noise around the stock is so high. Stop trying to pump bags with your hopium addiction. Game Stomper. Interesting. It's a bull bear. Well, he does follow me, or I follow him. Let's see. And it's funny, guys? I see this picture going around. I'm pretty sure this is from the video I posted, because you can tell it's like from a TV, and I just literally recorded my TV when I got this clip, right? It was literally one of my biggest tweets ever. It's actually crazy. So, shout out whoever screenshotted that. I'm pretty sure it's from my video. Pump my own tires here a little bit, right? And not that it matters, because it's not my like direct video, you know what I mean? But this is the video. This is crazy. The numbers I was getting on this, the amount of like interaction, I was like, I knew people would like this when I got this video and I saw it. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. I have to record this. But I didn't think it'd blow up like this, guys. This is crazy. But this is what I'm talking about, right? Because you can also see from like the angle of that image. But regardless, that doesn't matter too much. So yeah, listen, while the shareholder meeting today wasn't the most fascinating thing, wow, oh my God, like I can't believe this is happening, it's finally happening, right? it wasn't totally unexpected. That is the reality of it. And again, like whether you like it or not, again, this is just what I think. The approach GameStop is taking is they're going to wait for the right opportunity to make acquisitions or a big move of some kind. They're not going to rush it. They're going to take as long as they need. It's kind of like, SpongeBob and Patrick, it's okay, buddy, you go when you feel like it with The Rock. Like, that's basically how they're treating their cash. I mean, I don't know if that's the best analogy, right? But point being, they're basically saying, like, they're saying without saying, like, we're not going to rush to do anything right now. We're going to wait for the right opportunity, and we're going to keep just improving the core business as best we can with the small things like CandyCon, hopefully more private label brands, hopefully more Milan, Italy type stores. I really want to see them try that a little bit more, try it in a couple other places, see how it goes, and we'll stack a lot of cash on top of our current cash due to the high interest rate environment. So that just seems to be how they're going about it right now, but again, that's just one man's opinion, and how it all plays out, I couldn't tell you. And then another thing, right? We're going to hit the chat real quick. But another thing I'm seeing is seeing bigger accounts, like some of them, right? Do you have some big accounts just kind of engagement farming off it, saying like, oh, it's the squeeze, it's the gamma ramp, it's going to do this, it's going to do that. And just everyone's got an opinion, right? But then I think Amit's okay. Some of the stuff he says, I'm like, I don't agree with that. Other stuff, I'm like, okay, that's a pretty decent take, right? And this is a decent take. I don't agree with everything in here, but guys like him, and I saw like a clip of Meet Kevin, basically were saying recently, like, after this capital raise, like, can you really call GameStop a meme stock? Yes, right now, what they're doing alone isn't going to take them to the promised land, but they're in a spot where if they do make a smart move, and that's what these two guys are essentially saying, and you'll kind of see it here in this post. But if they do make a smart move, then they really do have the opportunity to complete the turnaround. And Amit says, all right, call me crazy, but I could not stop thinking about this since the announcement came out that GameStop completed at the market offering. GameStop's operating expenses are not horrible, right? They have no debt. They figured out how to get $4 billion in cash in 1 month, basically out of thin air. They lost $32 million last quarter, which is a drop in the bucket given to how much cash they have. And also, that's only for that quarter, right? If it's anything like last year, it's probably going to be break even for these next 2 quarters and then profitable Q4. Although I think with the extra cash raised, that's going to, and also just SG&A being cut down even more so, I think they're going to be net profitable in Q2, like ever so slightly, like maybe $8-9 million on the bottom line. But then Q3 and Q4, like Q3, we see maybe 30, 40, $50 million on the bottom line, and then a strong Q4 of 100 plus million, right? That's my just off the dome thought here. And again, that big part of that is earning the interest income on the cash that they currently have. So I don't necessarily see them continuing to lose money, because think about it, this $32 million was previous to raising any of the capital they recently raised. So they're going to earn way more interest income for the time being. And of course, this all is subject on interest rates. So it's based on the current, federal funds rate, where they're able to earn this high interest rate income. If Fed cuts rates a lot, we go all the way down to a 3% rate. That obviously changes things, right? Including GameStop's net income, given that a good majority of it will be a result for the time being of the high interest income that they're earning. They figured out how to get $4 billion cash per month, basically out of thin air. They lost $32 million last quarter, which is a drop in the bucket given how much cash they have now. And it's a big if, but if they figure out how to use this $4 billion to turn the company around, even if they start by putting $500 million in Bitcoin, dare I say, this does not become a meme stock anymore. Right? So this is what I'm saying. Some people start to wake up. Seem like some people are starting to wake up. Like, okay, like on the surface, this might look crazy, not knowing too much about it, but when I look at it, like, it's not that bad, right? Like and this is just, I would say, come from people who previously were like, what a stupid company, what a stupid situation, echo chamber of individuals, right? Blah, blah, blah. Not looking at the whole story. And you see some people like this starting to come around like, wait a minute, maybe there is something going on here, right? And there's, again, to clarify, there's still a lot more work for them to do. The big move, whatever it is, or moves haven't fully been made yet, but they keep moving in the right direction. Like, while it's very slow, it is very steady. So, and the Bitcoin idea, I'm not totally opposed to it, guys. I got to be honest, I'm not totally opposed to it. Because, like, if they just use a small amount, right? Let's say even less. They did 200 million. That's like what? 10% of the cash, right? Or if it's, okay, so 400 million would be 10%. So if they did 200 million, that's, 5% of the cash outstanding if they put 200 million into Bitcoin. And I really think Bitcoin's going to hold its value. The dollar keeps being printed. and is a up and coming and alternative asset. But at the same time, it doesn't exactly line up with how they are, right? And if they've been very cautious this whole time, why would they go buy something volatile like Bitcoin, right? So that's what the other side of me thinks. And then also, as someone who personally holds Bitcoin already, I already have what I want in Bitcoin. I don't need this stock that I have a lot of to also have exposure to Bitcoin, right? Because then I feel like I'm very heavy in Bitcoin, if that kind of makes sense. So it is an interesting thought, though. And if they did do it, I personally wouldn't be totally opposed to it. But I also understand, based on just seeing your comments out there, I've ran a couple polls on it. People don't seem too fond, like general GameStop shareholders, and of course it's not everyone, right? But I'd say there's a good amount of people that are not too fond of the idea of them putting it into Bitcoin. It becomes a company with a ton of cash that theoretically can transform their business and has a passionate group of investors ready to support them. This is very true, and this is where I want to see them try some new things a little bit more, right? But then again, when you're cutting costs a lot, you don't have as much to spend on various different moves to try. So you want to be very particular in what you try. Yes, the valuation makes no sense. Yes, the legacy business is not exciting. This is all based off them having enough cash and investors willing to give them the time to build. This part is really key right here. An entirely new company. And then some say Gameshire Hathaway, right? Or Gameshire Stopaway. I don't know. People are making all kinds of acronyms with it, but I have no position in the stock, but I'm incredibly intrigued by how they pulled off raising $4 billion in 1 month. And again, the stock price has held up very well. And you might be listening right now, oh, Tetron is some hopium and copium, whatever you want to call it. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just telling you how I see it. And yes, I have a strong position, and I've been here a long time, so it's easier to be zen and just like, okay, whatever's happening when you've seen so much over these past few years, right? Along with Roaring Kitty potentially owning 12 million shares, which, this was pre the exercising of his calls. He actually owns 9.001 million right now, exactly 9 million shares, 9,001,000 shares total, the exact amount Ryan Cohen had pre-stock split before accumulating more shares. So the amount of shares he basically had during the January 2021 run-up. They want to support him. He wants GME to win. He's the only reason GameStop had the ability to raise money. See, that I don't necessarily agree with, right? But that's okay. I don't have to agree with everything. It's almost like he knew taking a massive position would allow GameStop to complete the offering, which would put the company in a very strong position cash-wise while still leaving him up a massive amount because of his $20 strike price. And again, options are gone at this point. And some say DFE is a time traveler, right? It seems like he calculated this entire thing happening the way it has, and now the stock, he has 5 million shares of just raised $4 billion in cash at an average price of 28, while his average is 20. I think this story is just getting started. Me too, Amit. Me too, brother. It's quite the story. I'll definitely say that. No matter what you think, I wrote something the other day where it's like, whether you're invested, you're trading, you're hating, or you're just watching from the sidelines, how can you not be intrigued by the story that is GameStop and what has gone on over these past few years? If you told the average person all the way back here, right, after this massive drop, like, this is or even anywhere in here, right, in 2021, this volatile period, like post the quote sneeze, that things are only going to get crazier. And look at these weekly candlesticks. Very bizarre, right? That the GameStop story is far from over. Like, you're crazy. And look at, again, this is the most volume we've had since 2021. And it's all just food for thought here, but it's truly a remarkable story, right? No matter what happens, right? Because I'm not a time traveler. Maybe D fucking value / Roaring Kitty / Keith Gill is a time traveler. Just potentially, right? But I am not. I will promise you I am not a time traveler. So I cannot tell you what is going to happen. And I don't think anybody can, right? And what I do know is no matter what, I absolutely love this journey. I'm learning so much along the way. I'm meeting so many incredible people. And the journey itself has so much value because there's so many people, household investors, I think, involved in the stock that were never invested in anything, never had any interest in the stock market prior to January 2021. Now, I would imagine there's a lot of people who have held the stock over this period of time. And maybe they bought some other stocks. Maybe they've made some other trades. Maybe they become interested in this. They read a lot about market mechanics, right? You have so many different people putting eyes on the stock market and just investing in general and its importance and just the games Wall Street plays and what you can do as an individual investor, right? And you have the right, like what Roaring Kitty said during his testimony. I support paraphrasing here, I support the retail shareholders' right to invest in what they want when they want, right? Not just, hey, we're going to just take away the buy button because this is not what we expected to happen. So let's just change the rules. And even people who don't follow the story to this day, I think almost everybody looks back at that time when the buy button was turned off and like, especially in that moment, it's like they can do that. They can do that, and that's when I just realized I'm like, if that can happen, anything could happen, man. Anything could happen. That was truly unprecedented. We're just gonna remove the buy button. Crazy. Time to scoop up other companies is when the market's really bad. They're patient, and I like that. Scott, exactly. And that's the reference to GameStop stop away in that that's Warren Buffett style, right? And over these past several years, he stacked a ton of cash. Now versus, and yes, he's made some moves here and there. He was buying the secret stock for a while, right? And that couldn't be disclosed. But Ron Kitty post memes in his position. It was like, oh my God, market manipulation. But when you look at what Warren Buffett's done over these past several years compared to decades prior, he hasn't made a whole lot of moves post the correction of the pandemic. So just again, food for thought there, where it's like he's maybe like, they're not quite. And also, obviously, he's getting a lot older, and there's various other factors. But I think he's looking at it like there's not a lot of good opportunities out there, and he is, I think, the best investor of all time, if you ask me. So if the best investor of all time is not making a whole lot of big moves and stacking a lot of cash, like, is it the worst thing in the world that GameStop is? And again, you can disagree. That's all right. I want to see this week play out before saying how unpredictable it really is. I still feel there will be a run this week. D, listen, it's not impossible. Like we're still holding this very general uptrend here. These are the daily candlesticks, and if we close green tomorrow, I think the uptrend is still kind of in effect, roughly, right? Where you've kind of seen it just still be generally trending up, despite, some very volatile moves in between. Same, I don't think momentum has died down, ready for another big run up. And also, yeah, look at what the price action today. At exactly the time the shareholder meeting starts going down. It's up because of Roaring Kitty. Adam, thank you for being here. I see what you're saying, but I really don't think it's that simple because I can tell you for me personally, I genuinely did not expect Roaring Kitty to ever come back. I really didn't. And if you check my channel historically, I've still been talking about GameStop like way before he was back. I genuinely didn't think he would come back. Given the success he had initially and all the scrutiny he was under for no reason and just the spotlight on him, do you think he ever could imagine in his wildest dreams that things would be the way they are today? And even just like December of 2023, right? Like 1 month before his entire life changed forever. Do you really think he could have ever imagined this? So I thought he's just going to ride on to the sunset. He's good. I don't want to, be in the public, but he comes back, right? And that's also part of me thinks too, like, why now? Why now? And he didn't get all that money from nowhere, right? Some people say, oh, he was backed by someone or whatever. I think he's genuinely that good of a trader. Who knows what he was trading in his 3-year hiatus? It could have been other stocks. It could have been selling covered calls on GameStop. It could have been selling cash secured puts. It could have been a combination of both through the wheel strategy where it's like you kind of alternate. We don't truly know, right? We don't truly know. That's the truth of it. Retail does not buy 100 million shares, in my opinion, that fast. Exactly, X1, exactly. 45 million share offering. Oh my gosh, going fast. Damn. You guys are awesome in the chat lately. It's so hard to keep up. 45 million share offering is SIA for the reported short interest. 25 million share offering is SIA for DRS. Kitty has 2850 at his magnet line. GME board covering the ass of most people blaming the company. Scott, yeah, I definitely seen that idea thrown around, and I don't think that's entirely impossible. They entered out our territory. There'll also be no need for Roaring Kitty to come out public about his play. Dude could have stayed quiet and rich. Exactly. See, Ryan, great minds think alike. That's exactly what I was just saying. I feel like there's something else at play that's worth it all for him. It's very possible, Ryan. It's very possible. People were saying today was bring your cat to work day. Ryan Cohen and Roaring Kitty both have plans. I trust them with my money. I'm willing to lose. Exactly, X1. Exactly. You gotta, whatever you're investing in, never put in more than you can afford to lose. That is so, so important, And if you are feeling any uncertainty right now, right? Or you might think, oh, well, how do you feel so confident? And we don't know what's going to happen, right? For me, I am genuinely able to say this, right? And again, to clarify, I don't think this is going to happen. I'm not trying to hint at anything, but genuinely, if somehow GameStop doesn't work out, I lose everything I ever put into it, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. I'm not going to lose sleep. Like, obviously, I'm going to think, damn, I I can't believe that shit happened, right? But I can genuinely say, like, I'm okay. And I think that's really a good way to go about investing, especially if you're newer, because you get very stressed, right? And that's why I really shy away from options now, because options are short dated and you can lose everything you put into it, right? And of course, you can't happen with the stock, but have to go bankrupt. So with $4 billion in cash in the balance sheet, GameStop literally is not even remotely going bankrupt anytime soon, unless something insane happens, right? They sure, okay, maybe they don't execute on the turnaround, but they're not going to go bankrupt unless they just blow all the cash out of nowhere, right? So again, that's just my thoughts on it. So I think you got to know where you're at as an individual, and you just don't want to put in more than you can afford to lose, because that's never good. $20 calls on closing the money on Friday should be interesting. Yeah, there's still a lot of options open on that, and there's the speculation of the Kansas City Shuffle, which is like a lot of deception, and I don't know. Sometimes I start reading all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, my brain hurts. After choosing next week, having run up and go back to accumulation mode. Either way, I'm comfortable knowing those 4 billion are there as a safety. Exactly, D. Exactly. Because for me, like I've kind of been saying these past few streams, I was accumulating this whole way, right? So honestly, I haven't really bought any shares in this whole range. I haven't sold any, but I'm just like, you know what? I accumulated all these past couple of years. Like, I'm good for now. I'm gonna wait and see how it shakes out. We start going back to the $15 range, looking juicy, right? Maybe even 20. We'll see. But again, I'm pretty good where I'm at right now, but I'm not totally opposed to adding, just putting it that way. So, and again, that's me just analyzing my financial situation and myself as an individual, and like trying to move up in my life and all that, building towards like getting a house one day. And obviously I'm very far from that. Those you don't know, about to turn 24 this month, so still got a long way to go. A lot more to learn out there, but again, I'm trying to do what's best for me at the end of the day. I don't know where the Oilers pulled the goals from after getting shut down with Bobrovsky 3 games in a row. For real, Ryan. For real, man. Crazy. I was disappointed not to hear any potential plans with all the cash, but still about cost cutting. Yeah, no, X1, fair enough. But think as long as the cash is there, you have the safety net on the share price, and this insane same time a potential to capitalize on a market crash, just like Buffett is doing now. Exactly. I'll be my death in 40 years, and my last will be is Moaz tomorrow. That's pretty funny, Michael. I'd love to be wrong, and I still have some hope in left for what DFV may have planned, but I can't be mad if he's simply along for the future of the company. Exactly. He's gonna do what's best for him. Looks to me like this is going back to $10. Cliff, I think if it goes back to $10, you see a lot of buyers, both average individual retail investors buy in and institutions, because you're looking at a situation where at $10 a share, they almost have their entire share price represented in the form of cash, right? As of right now, it's roughly $9.62 per share in the form of cash. Short it down to 10 dollars, you'll everything. I got no chance to go back to the same amount. Schultz's meeting was very depressing in my opinion, but $10 will be a fair value though. Okay, Cliff, I see where you're coming from. Weren't shares supposed to be 420K with the new offerings? No, I don't think anyone ever said that, John. Sorry, but you have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, everyone's going on in the chat now. Brand recognition. So GameStop is transforming into a great company, and the squeeze is a bonus. Everyone diamond handing for the short squeeze might be diamond handing for a great investment. Exactly, Christian. Exactly. Listen, everyone has their own viewpoint and reasons they're in it and perspectives, but for me, I genuinely think the company can turn around, and I understand it might take time. And then after that, or beyond that rather, I look at the underlying and the things that happened in January 2021 and some suspicious things that go on in the stock market, and you just read and you understand market mechanics, like, wow, that's how this works. So to me, if the company succeeds and drives forwards and execute, all the bullshit underneath is going to bubble to the surface. And then when that happens, I don't know what's going to happen. Put it to you that way. I can't tell you exactly, but to me, I wouldn't be in it simply for the idea of like, oh, if they do the perfect play, they do an NFT dividend, they do this, it's just going to explode, right? And all is fine and dandy. Like, for me, believing in the company is a huge part of my share ownership. Like, I wouldn't just own shares hoping for MOAS, right? I would, like, if I didn't believe in the company and the board of directors and Ryan Cohen and the company to execute and drive forwards, I wouldn't own the stock. Like, genuinely can say that. I really believe in the company. And I know it's not going to be an easy journey, right? And there's been so many ups and downs already. So at this point, I'm just rocking and rolling. I think the board will have any idea what Ron Kitty's plan is or was. Maybe they're just waiting to see what happens. Honestly, X1, I don't think so. And I feel like if there was some kind of conversation, there would be SEC on that and all kinds of, oh my God, they talked, they did this, they did that, right? But he is one of the largest shareholders, and it is normal for very large shareholders to have conversations with the company. Usually it's not a retail investor, usually it's an institution. So I don't know the particular rules on that, but I don't know if they necessarily talk. They figured out Rowan Kitty handed them to what? Dizzle? Fair enough. Raikkonen has no plan based on today's meeting. He's not even willing to take any questions. What does it tell investors? I think they're planning to exit the business. Honestly, Cliff, I don't think that's the case, honestly. Thoughts on Richard Newton's deep dive into DFV tweets, overly looking into it, or valid? Mike, or MKE, thank you for being here. So, truth is, I haven't watched the newest one yet. I think I saw it posted here or there. I've tried to keep up with the other guys and what they're putting out, right? Because I do appreciate his opinion, Morant's opinion, Lightning, Peruvian, Badass, right? All these different platinum, all these different people out there that are quote GME elitists, right? I do always appreciate hearing their opinions, but I haven't seen that one yet, so I'm curious. But for me with the tweets, and thank you, kind of helped me transition here because I'm all over the place today, guys. One of those days. Part of me thinks like there are messages behind them, right? And sometimes there are like indications, but also I try not to read too into them, right? Because you don't truly know. At the end of the day, it just means he's just having fun. And if I were him, right? I think about if I were in Roaring Kitty's shoes, I would tweet some memes to have some meaning, but then also, for deception and just having fun, I would tweet other memes without a whole lot of meaning, right? But previously we saw like meme videos. Now we're getting like a lot of pictures. So this one, Badass had posted. That's the other thing I was gonna pull up before. Things keep coming back to me later, but the red headband, I think is the first one we've seen the red headband in a while, right? I saw someone comment that. I was like, huh, yeah, I haven't seen the red headband in a while. But he posted it, right? And Badass Trader found it right away. People are on it so quick, man. Like detectives out there. It's crazy. So this guy, John McEnroe, I'm not familiar with him, but apparently it's like a famous clip where he's like, you could not be serious. And it's like, I watched it. It's a short clip if you guys want to check it out. It's basically like he hit the ball, tennis ball, and it has to be like within the lines. It hit the line, supposedly, and then he's like, and the judge was like, no, it was out. He's like, you saw the chalk come up. You saw it. You cannot be serious. You cannot be fucking serious. Like, so part of me thought, honestly, guys, truly honest here, after seeing that and then this guy looks sad. And I've never seen this movie. Was it like Enchanted or Encanto? And we'll get into that in a second. Again, this is all just for fun here in terms of speculation. But I saw these two today, and I was thinking, like, is he sad? Is he saying that he's a little sad that there was no guidance or any information about where the company's going to take things and how they're going to evolve? And that's why he's saying you cannot be serious. And then also here, like this guy, like, what? You didn't say anything, right? But this is why I read other people's opinions, right? That was my initial thought, and that changed a little bit. So, here I'm not so sure. I think he's just saying you cannot be serious, like about the stock falling, maybe. I don't know, but this is the one I was looking at more, where I was reading about. I've never seen this movie. So this guy Bruno, apparently, and shout out to Ab. I'm sure you guys have seen her. She's a big GameStop fanatic. I would call a GME elitist, as some say. Because Bruno Bull said movie, said Bruno from Encanto, he sees the future and is hated for that. Interesting, right? And if there's anyone that understands GameStop stock and this entire world and its craziness, it's not me. It's not anyone else. It's Roaring Kitty. It's Keith Gill. This guy has played it so well for several years. And some people say, years ago, right? And when he started his GameStop YOLO, some speculate that he saw like the OPEX tailwinds, like certain rollover dates of certain positions, and he saw like a lot of the stuff that is dug into now, like looking at historical information, that he was ahead of his time in knowing that. And that's also where the fun idea comes out of him, like, this man's a time traveler, right? And again, I don't know, but Pepetoshi, thank you for being here. Fiat Mindset, look what Bitcoin did for MicroStrategy. Yeah, listen, that's totally fair, but at the same time, they got into it at a lower price point, and their approach is a little bit different. Like, they're willing to take on debt, like they're willing to finance debt to buy Bitcoin because they believe it's going to return greater than the market rate. Even at like a 5% rate, they're taking on debt. Def telling you, price action speaks louder than action. So I'll move on. Like Cliff aren't really considered fun anymore. Just to bug me, which is pretty sure. But listen, no, it's okay. I welcome the bulls. I welcome the bears. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's all right. And I appreciate you guys going in the comments. But Where do we think GME's going? Frosty, a wise man said, only up. But the truth is, nobody knows in the short term. That's honestly what I think. Rolling leaps for stocks. Drop harder. What are they trying to hide behind the GameStop name, and why is it worth so much money? And how deep does the rabbit hole go? Adam, thanks for being here. That's a fantastic question. Did GameStop fix their investor relations website yet? Ah, okay, there we go. Did we get an SEC filing for today yet? Because I want to see the exact amount of shares. I believe we should be getting a filing for that. I'm going to try and look back. Annual filings. Last one. Annual report. Security holders. Oh no, this is just like the package. Did anyone else get this in the mail? I got one of these in the mail, which I was like, huh, pretty cool. Put it in a time capsule one day. But usually I thought they do, I could be wrong, I thought they put out the exact amount of shares total, like that were voted for each. Because, you know, before there was like speculation. It's like, was there more shares that voted than existed? I don't know. I thought I heard something like that, but I got to listen to the call again. But some people were saying no, they were just saying like majority of shares did put in a vote, something like that. 2470, 2475 in the hour market. Let's see, the post market. But at the same time, if it's in Robinhood fake trading hours, I take it with the utmost grain of salt. You know, shout out Fitzy, White Rabbit 741. I'm sure you guys have seen them. They call it like the fake trading hours, and I've really adopted that. You know, Robinhood trading hours are the fake trading hours. Short sale rule, short sales are restricted tomorrow. Okay, Teddy Sprinkles, thanks for being here. Hey bros, GME still alive? Dewey, I would say so. I think it's alive and well. And listen, it might not be flashy right now, but that's all right. As someone who's in it a long time, I'm totally right with that. Only poke it with stock. Hold up. Yeah, he's good. What was the headband for back in the day? Watch the full clip. Peruvian Bull posted it. I got you, X1. Yeah, I gotta post. I gotta check it out. Still, like I said, trying to keep up with everything. I'm at work. I'm like, I gotta get my job done. But like, what is going on with GameStop? It's always like a fighting battle all day long. Stocks go up and down, but we stay patient. I'm John Lacey. Well said, my friend. Thanks for being here. Let's see. Finally, was caught up in the chat. You always seem to see people mentioning the price after a dip, but never when it's up. Ha ha ha. Weasels. Yeah, Liam. Listen, that's totally true. That is so true. That always is the case, right? When GameStop's going down, I think I have a meme for that. Let me see. Where is it? I don't know. I made so many memes, done so much over these past few weeks, but yeah, this is accurate, right? GameStop bears when the stock is red. GameStop bears when the stock is green. This is so stupid. Oh my god, this keep happening, right? Jamie 28 tomorrow. Tutive, thanks for being here. It's possible. How can you be a bear? 4 billion in the bank. The Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong. Thanks for being here. Exactly. Listen, and I'm not saying anything will happen right away. And I was kind of talking before earlier for those of you that weren't here that I think the reality of it is that they're gonna take their time and find the right opportunity to make the right investment. And for the time being, they're just going to keep stacking cash. And I understand where some people are like, I don't want to wait around. I've been in this a long time. But if you're truly a long-term investor, like I think you just got to kind of let it ride. And I'm not telling you what to do, right? You got to make your own opinion, to be perfectly clear, and take your own approach and understand, like, are you investing? Are you trading? Those are two very different things. Or are you doing a little bit of both, right? Where you're investing just straight buy and hold, but then you're also doing some trading on the side, like a separate brokerage account, right? Know thyself. Know thyself. Like I have friends that trade. I say, listen, you might regret that one day if it goes up a ton out of nowhere. You're like, damn, I should have been trading. I should have just been hodling, right? I would have been good. But at the same time, if you're making money on it, I respect it. I'm happy for you. If it doesn't hold 24, it's going to 22 to 18. It needs to close above 27 tomorrow. I like anime. Thanks for being here. Appreciate that thought. You know, we'll see. That's all I can say. We'll see, right? And I kind of have this like general little uptrend here I keep referencing. So I'd like to close a little bit green tomorrow, and I'd have some faith we're still going in this general uptrend. But, you know, also zooming out, right? When in doubt, zoom out. That's just what they say. When you look at this, right, and this is what the Dorito of Doom, you know, badass trader is known for, right? Look at his picture. Look at his picture. The Dorito of Doom. Right here. It's the Dorito of Doom guy. But really, it broke out, right? When we had that first massive move. For the first time in all of these years, it finally broke out over here, right? Where you have this long falling wedge. I'll try and draw it roughly here, and just very rough, guys. You know, I'm not a big TA guy. But you have this long wedge, right? Or maybe it was more like, I don't know. It was just like several times it got tested. and it didn't really hit. See, I don't know. I'm just rough numbers here, right? Rough lines. And then please say, don't, oh, Tetron did some fire TA on the stream tonight. Like, nah. But basically just like, it broke. This is horrible. This is horrible. I'm not even going to keep this. But the point being that it broke out of this range it was in for a very long time, right? And does it kind of just go back to, I don't think it really can go lower than 10, given that they literally have almost $10 per share in cash. I have a very, very hard time believing that it goes lower than 10. And if it does, I think you have tons of individual retail investors that are willing to swoop in and absolutely accumulate shares. And then on top of it, I think you have a lot of institutions that are going to go ahead and accumulate shares at that point in time, right? And especially if you're short, given that you see the cash flow at this point, what is really the short thesis here? That the company just starts doing something really stupid that just burns all their cash. Like, I could see not wanting to be invested in it, right? Like, I can respect that. I get that. It's not the stock for everyone. It's truly a unique opportunity, unique situation. But how can you really be betting against it at this point? Unless you were already betting against it before and you're just continuing to ride that wave. That's how I see it. I don't know how someone could walk in right now, look at it and say, I'm going to go ahead and short this thing at its current price. How much upside do you really see yourself getting? Like, okay, sure, you shorted from 25 to 20. Ooh, you made a little money, right? Like, I just don't see, I genuinely don't see, and I try and be as unbiased as possible. And the reality of it is, I obviously am a little bit because I like the stock, I'm invested in it, been holding it a while, I've been covering it for a while, right? And also, to be clear, I'm just trying to call it as I see it because, the mainstream media doesn't want to cover it accurately, so I will, and so will other people out there. And that's the power of the internet and individuals, because if the news wants to talk about this and that and it's complete bogus, then you have individuals like myself that are going to talk about it from their perspective. And it's the power of the internet where more and more people get to share their opinion, and then you guys share your opinion with me, and then I share my opinion back, and then you say something else in the chat like, oh, that's a good point, I didn't think about that. Oh, take a look at this. Oh, what's the thought on that? So 4 billion, not 4 trillion. No, that is true. That is true. My bad if I misspoke there, Ryan. I do apologize. Ryan MPIS, thanks for being here. Insider buying starts soon. But Donkey Kong, that's a great point, that if the price does go lower, we do go back to a sub 20 price level. I don't think it's impossible insiders buy shares, especially if we go to $10. You want to talk about people who are going to buy shares if it goes back to $10 a share. If it goes back to $10 a share, I think you have institutions, individuals, and insiders all accumulating shares at that price point, right? And some potential shorts covering. Because again, if you're short the stock and it goes back down to 10, what upside do you really have when they have that amount in cash per share? And you look at, again, I know people are saying like, oh, they haven't done anything flashy, but they really are turning things around. It's not big and fancy right now, and there's still more work to be done. There has to be more execution, but when you look at it, their revenue is going down, yes, but the net income is improving. And really looking at 22 to 23 shows you more, and it kind of shows you, I think, the trend we're going to see. And remember, they have even more cash now, so they're going to have even more net income on interest income. So last year, they turned 6.7 million in net profit versus negative 313 million in the year prior. So while top line revenue dropped like roughly $650 million, the bottom line revenue swung $320 million into profit, which you just don't see that a lot. And it just shows they're really, really focused on cutting costs and operating efficiently until they can make the right move. And given that they raised all this cash, they didn't give a perspective about where they're taking things. I think they're basically saying without saying, like, we are waiting for a market crash scenario or a correction of some kind or an undervalued asset to present itself for sale or for us to have the opportunity to acquire, and then we're going to make a move with cash and make that purchase. But for the time being, because we're just breaking even operationally, right? And operations are breaking even, we can turn a net profit, and again, you could see the net margins improving quarter over quarter from 22 to 23, and obviously 24. We'll see what happens the way. Nothing's for certain. Let's be clear about that. But if they can break even on operations and accumulate roughly $200 million over the next year just on interest income, they could just take their time until they see the right opportunity, right? I would rather them do that than be overly aggressive, take a big chance it doesn't work out, and then they waste a lot of that shareholder value, right? Waste a lot of that cash on hand. But listen, that's not everyone's opinion. I get where some people are like, let's do it now. I've waited long enough. But I look at it like I've waited long enough. I can wait a little bit longer, right? I'm not in a rush. And given that, SG&A went down from Q1 to Q1 over Q1, As a percentage of revenue, that was a little disappointing to see, considering we saw the trend we saw from 22 to 23, where it was dropping as a percentage of revenue, because you really have to look at it as a percentage of revenue in terms of year over year, in my opinion, because when you have revenue falling, right, you want to look at what it is relative to revenue as a whole. However, it is still pretty encouraging to see it drop by 50 million year over year, and I really want to see the next 2 quarters come in below 300 million. If Q2 we get like 290, that'd be nice. Maybe even 280. Q3 down to 280, 270 as well, and obviously Q4 is always going to be a little bit higher. Historically looking at it, it's always a bit more because they do hire some like temporary employees, and it's just a busier time, so you just have a little bit more overhead costs at that given point. But with all that, again, operationally, like they can keep moving sideways. And yes, it's not exciting, it's not flashy, and might not create any big movement in the stock price for the time being, but they can wait until the right opportunity arises. And you could disagree, that's fine, but I'm just telling you how I see the board going about it, just based on their actions and what we've seen over time. And also, again, for those of you that are maybe newer to being involved in the stock, this has kind of been their approach from the beginning. Like, we're not going to telegraph our moves. We're going to be very quiet, but when we do something, we'll put it out there. We're not going to, we're going to release this on this date, or on that date, this is going to happen. We'll let you know by this date. Just, okay, no. Here, PSA trading cards, we're doing that. Here, CandyCon, new private label brand. And I think a way they can minorly improve operations right now, besides like cost cutting that they've been doing and just closing unprofitable stores, like do more private label brands. Try out the more Milan, Italy type of stores. And again, I'm not on the board of directors, so I can't direct that, right, guys? But those are the things I think about. Oops, yeah, my bad. So easy in today's world to think trillions. Yeah, Pepitoshi. Trillions are normal these days, right? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy talking about trillions? But how much can you bet the Oilers make a comeback? Ryan, oh man, I don't know about that, honestly, man. I really have a hard time believing the series goes beyond six games. Maybe the Oilers can eke out another win here, but I don't think it's impossible, right? If they play like the way they did the other night, it's not impossible, but I wouldn't bet on it. Excuse me, put it to you that way. So, how long days do you think before the release news on what they're doing with the $4 billion? Bianca, thank you for being here. Honestly, given how today went, that they didn't telegraph anything for the future, I think it's probably going to be longer than the average person would think. But if an opportunity presents itself, such as a market crash, company wanting to be sold, whatever the case, right? It would just be announced. I don't think, oh, well, we're planning to buy this company, or we're planning to make this acquisition, we're planning to buy out 10% of this company, anything like that. No, it's just going to be sudden when the news happens. I'm lucky I don't need my GME share money. I can afford to hold right now after the market crash in 2025. Coffee, exactly. I feel exactly the same. About a market crash? Maybe. I don't know. I feel like a market crash has been brewing for a while now, but at the same time, like there's so much liquidity just being pumped in and just money flowing around, right? And it seems like the forever bull market. So I don't know, right? But it is interesting that Ryan Cohen touched on, like in his meeting, or I think I already exited out here, but basically touched on, the true unprecedented time we are in terms of like the amount of money that's been printed and the aggressive monetary and fiscal policy. So having said that, I feel the same as you though in your first comment. I'm lucky I don't need my GME share money. I can afford to hold right now. I feel exactly the same, but I think it's really important too, where that's a lesson learned from investing for me over these past several years through GameStop, and also just in messing around with other stocks previously and trading around. When you're in a spot where you are not investing more than you can afford to lose, and you understand like what your income is, like what your assets are, what your financial goals are, you start putting all that together, right? It's like a big puzzle, and it's not easy to put together, right? The pieces are complex and shifting, and the shapes are changing. But when you put that puzzle together and you realize, okay, like this is the amount I want to put in on this basis, right? And for me, I was dollar cost averaging, and I think a lot of people were over these past few years, right? This whole way down, buy shares, buy shares, buy shares, buy shares, buy shares, right? It wasn't for me like a 1 share a week type of thing, or 2 shares a day, or anything like specific like that. But for me, it was like, okay, like right here, I'm picking up a few more shares. Right here, I'm picking up a few more shares. Right here, a few more shares. Right here, a few more shares. But I never said, oh, I'm going all in right now, right? I'm going all in. And I think that's like a kind of a common misconception, because, DFE has a quote like YOLO posts, and that's kind of just what they're known by these days, but doesn't mean everyone should go take that approach, right? So I feel like, yes, I'm lucky to be in that spot, but also I put myself in that spot, right? And I set myself up to be in a spot where I am not putting in more than I can afford to lose, or more than is going to make me not be able to sleep well at night thinking, I don't know what's going to happen. Oh my God, right? For me, I'm just like, I got what I want in it. If the price goes lower to a certain point, I was talking about maybe $15, $20 range, I start getting interested again, first time in a while, given the amount of cash they have. But at the same time, like I said, I'm pretty good where I'm at, but I'm not totally opposed to buying more. But that's also where, you've been accumulating these past several years. You don't really need to jump into this volatility right now. And that's just my opinion, right? But there's still some people buying, there's some people holding, there's some people just watching, and everyone's got to make their own decision at the end of the day. Cat is back. Catalyst, Cat System, Roaring Kitty. But Donkey Kong, I gotta say though, to be honest, like with the cat system, there's been so many times like, oh, there's a rule change, they're implementing this, that's gonna happen, and so many times like, oh, is this really the time something changes? And for me, the unfortunate reality of it is that we live in a world where the markets are always gonna have a lot of strange things going on. I'll just leave it at that. So while I definitely think it's good, and the more transparency the better, and you got to work for it little by little by little. And you see a lot of the market makers and large institutions were saying, "Oh, the cat system's bad. It's bad, right?" It's like, you guys are the ones that are all saying this, right? And you're all the one with massive control. Why do you think it's so bad, right? So, while I'm not saying like it's a bad thing, it should be completely dismissed. I'm just saying I wouldn't just put like all your hope into that and like, oh yeah, like that's really going to change everything here, right? So, and I think I'm about to get into the Berkshire part right here because this is interesting. I bought a $50 call on Friday that expires this week. I thought the meeting was going to actually give us information, but listen, Slump, I wish you all the best with the call, and that's the thing, bro, with call options. They're so risky, so much volatility, and especially for GameStop, the implied volatility is so high because the stock moves around so much lately. So IV has just spiked so much. So even during the sideways price action, right, you're just getting smoked by theta because, especially shorter term options, right? So I think if options, you got to go long term, if anything. But honestly, I personally really try and shy away from options. Maybe like sell a put here and there. I've kind of messed with that, but because when IV's high, it's good to sell options. When IV's low, it's good to buy options. And that's just very general information, not for GameStop or anything specific like that. Nope. What's up with the bullet swaps? I'm using Berkshire A to hedge GME. Coffee? Part of me really thinks so, man. Part of me really thinks so, right? And I'm going to talk about that in a second. I briefly touched on it before, and a couple other people wrote about it on Superstock, actually, over the past couple days. And I had touched on this in the past. Like, I had an old screenshot. Let's see if I had it here. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think if these are anything. Because this is interesting that his character in the movie is like... Is there anything in his eyes there? I was trying to see. I don't think so. I think it's just a screen. But his character in the movie... Right, and also some people replied to my tweet. It's from Encanto. The fellow could see the future. Green tomorrow. Interesting. And then, yeah, in the movie, it's like green too. He causes chaos wherever he goes. Potentially that. So, good ideas. He's green. Again, all just food for thought here, right? All just speculation. But getting to my tweet about Berkshire Stop Away, or Berkshire Hathaway, then of course some say Berkshire Stop Away. So, where is it? Here. Right, and I really got to get water, guys. I finished my first water. I got to grab water real quick before we keep going here. But let me hit the shower time. 2024 is key. 2024 is definitely the most exciting time for GameStop, I would say, since 2021. And again, whether you're hating on it, you're trading it, you're investing in it, or you're just watching, like, how can you not see this as an exciting time, right? So, let's see. Nope. What's up with the bullet swaps? Berkshire A, possibly. How much would it hurt GameStop to lose patience from shareholders? Do you think they care about how people are knowingly invested from us? Ryan, that's a fair question. I've thought about that a little bit. I think they realize that there's a lot of people invested to ultimately see like where they take things, right? But obviously, like that is a factor. Like we gotta be realistic. That is absolutely a factor. But so I feel like they're trying to toe the line of like, we want to satisfy shareholders, but like we don't want to deviate from our plan of just taking our time and turning this thing around. So I feel like they're trying to like walk that line, and then that's also where Ryan Cohen said in his like short like couple paragraphs today, where it's like we're not here to build hype, we're here to work, we're here to build things right. And I know some people are like, oh, what do you mean? Like nothing's happening, right? But they're just taking their time. It's just like the SpongeBob episode. It's okay, buddy. You go when you feel like it, right? That's GameStop. I really feel like that. And listen, it's easy for me to say because I've been in it a while. I've seen so many ups and downs, so many stories, right? So many things come and go, so many ideas, and whatever. But for me, like I said, I just don't have in more than I can afford to lose, so I don't lose sleep at night. And I think for me, tremendous upside, if things go very well. If somehow, whatever way remotely possible, things don't work out, I'm not going to be devastated. My life savings isn't destroyed or something like that, right? So, and I think that's where you got to put yourself in that spot. Me personally could win another 3 years, but it feels like the fireworks are around the corner. Exactly, exactly. I feel exactly the same because it's like, also, why would Roaring Kitty come back now? We were talking about this a little bit before too, where it's like he rode off into the sunset. He was good. I did not honestly think he was ever come back. I didn't even think he was going to do a live stream, right? Because I thought, man, he's under so much scrutiny. The SEC is supposedly looking into him. The head of whatever in Massachusetts is investigating him, right? It's so risky. He missteps in one tiny way. Oh, manipulation, right? Even though this man is really proud of that, just posting memes and his position, and then that is is being pointed at as manipulation, right? And a good point I saw, I forgot who said it or where I saw it, but good point someone made is that if E-Trade did in fact liquidate his position, one, isn't that ironically enough market manipulation? Because obviously a huge sale of 9 million shares is going to move the market, right? That's pretty massive. So that's number one. And number two, if they did, what precedent does that set for other people? Like, hey, I just share a position I like on the internet and post memes, and they sell my stock and ban me from trading securities? What? And then also, not only is that set a precedent to other people in the United States, people around the world look at that, right? Like, I don't want to do business in the United States if that's the kind of action they take for someone who is doing nothing wrong, right? So that's where the counter was, people like, oh, he's going to get banned from the Securities and Trading Commission, right? And I was in a space where someone was saying that, like, he could. It's like, yeah, he could, but then how does that look to the entire world, right? And I think if he takes the case to court, like, he has a very strong case in being like, this is BS, right? This is BS. So if that's true, then DRS becomes more important than ever. It's true. Or let's see, it's tough because the MOAS narrative is an inevitable aspect of the turnaround story. People need the MOAS concept to be invested, supportive, and accept dilution for the bigger goal. Ryan, yeah, those are absolutely fair points, man. Those are absolutely fair points. But for me, I'm sure you've heard me say this. I even said it a little bit before, where it's like, I look at it like, yes, it's a factor, but if the company itself evolves and improves and takes it to the next level and does whatever they're going to do to ultimately turn things around, then whatever's underneath, however it's going on underneath, right, whether it's involved with Berkshire or whatever the case, it will bubble to the surface over time, right? So that's why I mostly just try and stick to the fundamentals too, because also, who truly knows, right, with all this stuff. And that's what I'm learning, that it's like there's so much we just don't know, right? That's just the reality. There's so much we don't know. And all right, we're gonna get to this in a second. I'm gonna grab water super quickly. It's always good to hydrate, guys, for real. Always hydrate. It's so important. Fun fact, guys, I don't think I've ever really said this. I'm a tall, lanky individual. I'm 6'4". Probably can't tell from me sitting down, but it's kind of funny. So I see people like, dude, you're so tall. I'm like, yeah, never heard that one before. I just don't want it to turn into a sour story where the company is able to achieve a minor turnaround story to stay consistent without major growth. It was at the cost of shareholders who never got what they initially invested for. Certainly fair, Ryan. No, that's absolutely fair, man. I definitely see what you're saying, where it's like, but I think from like their perspective, it's a tough spot, right? Because you want to satisfy shareholders, like they're a huge part of, everything that's happened. But at the same time, you don't want to deviate from the plan and be in a spot where it's like, oh, you guys orchestrated squeeze or this type of move or whatever the case, right? So I feel like they're in a tough spot in that sense, right? But you're definitely making good points. So don't get me wrong. But I'm gonna get to the Berkshire stuff here. So, if so tall you won't fit in the Lambo. Hey, D, your words, not mine, man. I'll have to get it custom made, custom adjusted in some way with the seats. But so the Berkshire thing has bugged me for a long time, right? Because this is a screenshot I have from May 10th, 2022. So a little bit over 2 years ago, right? And someone has a better one in here. Like this is the same screenshot, but you can see that this is the exchange volume for Berkshire A. the white is off exchange. All the other colors are various exchanges, right? CBOE, New York Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange American, other CBOE ones, right? But basically just on exchange. White is off exchange. The yellow is the price. And I have the same thing here. So, did you know that 90% of Berkshire Hathaway's daily trading volume has been off exchange since post 2021? Prior to the GME sneeze, most of the volume was on exchange. I wish I had a better screenshot, but this was taken May 10th, 2022. Yellow is the price, white is off exchange, blue is New York Stock Exchange. And this was the day of the glitch. I posted this, right? Because that's when it was being talked about. Other exchanges, this is from chartexchange.com. If you want to look at it yourself, unfortunately, I only have data for the past year and a half. That's why I cannot go back and get a better screenshot. Here's what December 2022 to present looks like. And, obviously this was the day of the glitch, so that's why the price looked like that. But you could see at this point, like 99% of the volume was off exchange, right? Look at this. And this is another screenshot from there. And I made a video on this a long time back, right? Like nothing too remarkable, but I was like, something's weird here. Like I just talked about it, and I think I was recording this. I know I was recording this in my car. I don't remember where I was at that time. Was I still in college? No. But you can see now, right, where it was like off exchange, so much of it. And then suddenly, since this is the glitch day, right? It bounces back up, most of it off exchange again, but now it's tailing off a little bit, right? So I'm keeping an eye on that. I'm curious. But this person has a screenshot from back then, and it's like just after January 2021. So pretty much starting February, suddenly we saw this shift where off exchange volume was higher, right? And this time it was floating between 70, 80, 90%. And then it got to a point where it was pretty much consistently, right? If you look here, consistently, if we zoom in a lot. And the yellow's price action again, by the way, guys. So look, it's nearly always like 100%, right? And there's a couple spots where, like what happened right here, like March 16th, 2023, and you look at GameStop, back March 16th, where are we right here, right? Like right before this massive move. I mean, this was on earnings, I believe, when they reported Q4 being that profitable. But still, pretty interesting that's close in time to that. And then also the day of the glitch, right? June 3rd was right here. The price exploded up to here. Like this was at the market open, because keep in mind, right here, like when you read the candlesticks, right? This is where it opened, and this is where it closed at the end of the day. And the top of the candlestick is the high of the day, and the bottom of the candlestick is the low of the day. So we started all the way up here. We ran a tiny bit, dropped all the way down, and then recovered a little to close here. But this is the day of the glitch right here. So interesting, right? That where it just had such a huge gap up. Okay, this is it. This is really it this time, right? And then it keeps running anyway. And it comes back down. So it's like, what happened in that time period? I'm not here to specifically tell you, but what it is interesting too, you look at the volume on it going up and up and up. And ever since that little glitch event, right? You had this is the day of the glitch right here, 6/3. Right, because this is the day I tweeted this. Right? Yes, 6/3 was right here. And then the next few days, it's still a lot of volume, but then it dropped off, right? And ever since the 7th, very limited volume on Berkshire again. And that's where you see also this tailing off a little bit, right? Since the 7th, we've seen less of it off exchange. Not that much less of it off exchange compared to like historically speaking, because again, look at this screenshot. I was floating between 80 and 90%, but it's like, what is going on? And I think it's some form of swap, some form of collateral. I don't know the specifics, right? But it just seems like something. That's all I'm saying, guys. And you guys are free to dig into it more, and we'll go through these posts here in a second. But also, you look at Berkshire here. Look at a 5-year chart. Again, see right here, February 2021, so about a month after the situation with GameStop. Look at how much the volume went up, right? Like the average volume period, do we see it? See, like it's like 2,000 traded, or we're gonna see the volume, but I thought it pops up on the right side. But you could just see, right, just looking at the volume chart, volume starts going up a lot, kind of stays steady, and then it's ever since mid 2022 accumulating more volume daily, more volume daily, more volume daily, more volume daily, tails off a little bit, and then really since 2024 started, a ton of volume daily, right? Again, all relative to what it was previously. And you zoom out, right? How did suddenly, like after all this time, right? Even when the, oh, I was like, what's this dinosaur? But I guess that's when it was. This is the very beginning. You've made it through all the available data. We hope it was useful. We're always focused on providing you with the most complete data. So this whole time, right? Even when the share price was way lower, you're telling me that it didn't have this volume until now, right? And also keep in mind, like this all-time higher, like you can't make this up, right? Simulation confirmed. It touches 741,000. 741! That number is everywhere. It's actually insane, right? I mean, I take those theories with a grain of salt, but it's still funny. And it's just funny how it always pops up that number. But look at all this volume accumulating right here. So, like, what mean? What mean? And then look how much less volume, right? If we zoom out a little more, you could see the real volume difference here because now these are daily candlesticks because it's like a 1-year chart. So a lot less volume than we're seeing. And then we go to here, look at its historical. Go. Right, look at this. Between 10 and 20,000 volume roughly, right? Leading up into this. And now suddenly just a couple thousand, almost 3,000, couple thousand, almost 3,000, less than 2,000. Like what changed, right? It just, again, it's all just food for thought here. I'm not trying to say, oh, it's definitely this, like this is definitely leading to this, which is going to lead to that, which means that. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying it's interesting, right? And I personally believe there's some ties to GameStop in some shape or form, whether it's some kind of complicated swap or, you know, basket position. I don't exactly know, right? But what I do know is there's so many complex derivatives and so many things that these institutions have access to that average individuals don't have the option to make these like certain basket swaps and certain derivative positions, right? Certain shares being borrowed in a certain type of way. All these very specific tiny little intricacies of the market. So again, just all food for thought here, right? But we'll read through this. So which one do I want to go through first? So 1.3 billion shares of Berkshire are outstanding. Berkshire's volume shifted to off exchange after the sneeze. Berkshire has been off exchange for nearly up to 100% since the end of the past year. If you check the OTC data, there's one brokerage that is driving the majority of the traffic, Drive Wealth LLC. So I do have to check that out. I'm not too familiar with them, but when I looked them up, supposedly they back Cash App. So if you buy like stocks through Cash App, they're the ones that kind of facilitate it, just from my quick Google search. But I don't know too much about them. So here are the two most recent months of data. A little more zoomed in. Oh, is there a better way to do this? Okay. So, oh, okay, that's good. Interesting. I didn't even realize this. So 275 Drive Wealth, of course, 32,000 Robinhood. Did Mimsy Firms, small amount. I'm not too sure about that. You see a lot of trades. One share each. Interesting. Oh, it opened separately. So that's last month, right? And then the month before, the same two. You know, Robinhood is there too. And it's interesting, right? How, I don't know if you guys caught that today, where I posted it too. My GameStop basically dunked on Robinhood. Love memes, guys. Who doesn't love memes? Memes are good for the soul. Guess what has lots of cash? Lots of cash? Robinhood is trash. Got him with some rhymes. But this post right here, GameStop shareholder meeting. You know, view the stream. Anyone that wishes to watch the annual meeting, you put in like basically your control number that you can watch as a stockholder. Computer share, bank, or broker. You also need the following: valid control number, or you join as a guest. It doesn't really matter, right? Because you get to listen either way. But log in as a guest if you hold your shares at Robinhood or do not have a control number. Which, very interesting that they particularly said Robinhood, right? And to me, at this point, I don't think you should have Robinhood. Of course, I don't give advice. That's not the business I'm in, right? But I just don't understand where I think Robinhood is good for beginners. But after you get the hang of things and you understand things and you also understand the intricacies, keep messing up that word, damn it, of the market, why would you choose to hold your shares in Robinhood? Like, I just don't get it. I think it's great for beginners, great for people who want to do a little trade here and there, just dabbling with stocks on the ever so often occasion. Sure. Just getting started? Sure. But when you've been in stocks for a while. I just don't understand why you would want your shares in Robinhood. Like, I genuinely don't. Like, they really pioneered the game, and that they were the first. And anyone that's new might not know this, but it used to be where when I first started doing stocks online, every broker charged a fee, whether it was like $5, $7, or $10. Right? That was like the average range it was within. I would say the average. Like, I used to use TD Ameritrade when I first, or sorry, Scott Trade. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but they were acquired by TD Ameritrade, and then TD Ameritrade is now acquired by Charles Schwab. And a lot of these companies that you see, both banks and institutions, keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They just acquire each other, right? Acquire, get bigger and bigger and bigger, become bigger monsters. So Scott Trade was the first ever brokerage I ever had, and they got acquired by TD. So then I started using TD, and then over time, like I messed with Robinhood too at certain points because I got options access on there and went crazy with that back in the day, right? When I first started learning about how markets really work. And ultimately now I use Fidelity. Fidelity is my personal preferred broker, but I really encourage you to do research and determine which broker is best for you and how you want to go about things. Please don't blind listen to me. But point being, I've tried a lot of different brokers. I tasted a lot of the different broker teas, or that's an analogy I always use. I'm like, everyone's got their own cup of tea in the market, right? You got the trader's cup of tea, you got the investor's cup of tea, you got the options cup of tea, you got the mixed tea, right? You mix some different flavors, right? Everyone's got their own approach. And it's kind of the same with the brokers, where I was trying all okay. Fidelity's the one for me, right? So I just don't understand why. Around. I went on a complete tangent there, but it's just funny. It's interesting, right? And then you see this too, and you're like, huh, interesting. But then you would think Drive Wealth is behind Cash App. You would see them say like maybe, where would I just go? Cash App or Robinhood, right? You would think that, but I'm sure Drive Wealth manages for several other companies as well. Probably not just Cash App, to be honest with you, but all just off the dome there. Their FINRA brokerage thing, you can check it yourself here. If you guys want to check out this post, shout out to user/waiting on a wait. I love Reddit usernames. They're always so funny, so unique. Waiting on a wait. What does that even mean? Just waiting on a wait. Types of businesses. And by the way, guys, some of this stuff I just skim through and I go through live on the stream, kind of like this one right here. Broker or dealer retailing corporate equity securities over the counter. Broker or dealer selling corporate debt securities. This firm currently conducts 10 types of businesses. Underwriter, selling group participant, mutual fund retailer, U.S. government securities broker, put and call broker or dealer or option writer. You get the point. They do a lot of different stuff. Private placement securities. The applicant will engage in the trading of fractional shares with the customers on a principal basis. Customers will be able to place orders of quantities that are dollar amounts or shares. Notice there, U.S. government securities broker. Where here we can see the total outstanding shares currently at roughly 1.4 million, with insiders owning 1.7 million shares. Very interesting, right? Very odd. You can check on Fintel, but the following image shows over 10 million shares being held by institutions for 3 reporting periods. Very strange right here, right? Like, how did this happen? So the Wayback Machine, see what I could find. First, I'll point to the one entity that held over 20 million shares, valued at $4.8 trillion. Someone picked up on this back in the day when it was going on through. So if you want to read more about that, here it is. Someone else's post. Let's see. Berkshire funny business continued. See, people have talked about this for a couple of years, like on and off. Like say, we go way down the rabbit hole. I can't help but continue to sense mass amounts of funny business surrounding Berkshire and its direct relationship in some way with GME. And see, Digital Noise, another interesting username, and spelled wrong, but still nice. Burnout, guys. I don't think I go too much longer. It's been, like I said, crazy the past couple of weeks for me personally, and with GameStop. So much to keep up with. Next, while in the Wayback Machine, this caught my attention as well, because now we're talking about institutions owning over 130 million shares. See, very interesting anomalies, like what happened right here. This was way back in 2018. Let's repeat same method. Went back to the earliest point of the way back and was blown away. Shares outstanding 1.3 billion as of 2019. What the hell? What the F? Huge shout out to whoever archived this link. Right, so price in 19 was roughly 300K per share. So 1.3 billion times 300,000 is 410 trillion. To put that in perspective, the U.S. national debt is roughly 35 trillion. Crazy. I challenge Warren Buffett to a dumb war. I really think, like I was saying before, I don't like to speculate on Warren Kitty's tweets too much, so I don't like to speculate too much on Ryan Cohen's either. But I really think this was a nod to like something funny's going on with Berkshire, right? Like in a very subtle way, he was kind of saying that, right? But all just food for thought. You got to all put in your own perspective, right? And just looking at this, guys, this is an old screenshot, right? Or it's about up to date right now. This number isn't always exact, but 122% of GDP as debt. Can't really go back from that, right? Especially when the government just spends more and more every year, the deficit grows, and you're now issuing new debt at a higher rate to pay off old debt. So it's a snowball effect, right? And as Peruvian Bull calls it, he's not the only one, but the dollar milkshake theory. It's very interesting. I do encourage you guys to read about what that idea is. And, you know, he's the one that talks about it, I would say, the most. That also talks about GameStop, but there's a lot of other people out there who've brought up that theory. So I encourage you guys to read about it and read some different perspectives. It's always good. So then this is the older one, but this was the other one I was reading today. Again, skimming over. Back in February through March 2021, folks started to notice an oddity that occurred in Berkshire's Class A stock. Berkshire's Class A stock trades at a very high price per share, 300K plus, and typically traded sub 1,000 shares per day, with most of these averaging around 100 to 200 shares, 500K outstanding. Something weird occurs with Class A around the end of February 24th. At the same time, GME reaches its bottom post buy button shut off. 30 days after buy button turn off for GME. Volume only goes parabolic, only daily shares traded for Berkshire A and GME's daily volume drops off a cliff moving forward for both. So that's where we see the initial big spike in volume. And then you can see here for GameStop, the daily volume, this is the last time we have major daily volume, and then it drops off. And all the way up until now, we haven't seen that much volume for GameStop, right? Because if you look at it here, look at these monthly candles, or you look at the 5-year chart, you can see like this is the closest we've come to January 2021 volume, and even September. But keep in mind, at this time, like it's a way different period, right? Definitely a way different period. There's so much has changed over these past few years. So, and again, I'm just presenting different people's ideas here. You know, shout out user slash Biggie Smalls triple Z. Oddly enough, from this point on, Berkshire Class A has increased in price, but most importantly, the daily volume traded on Berkshire A continued to rise on a daily basis from the point to the present day. Average daily volume went from 100 to 200 shares to 15,000 to 20,000 shares traded daily. And you can see that here. Like we can look at it here. This guy's using the same thing. Guy or gal, I'm not sure. Berkshire. And let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is absolute tinfoil, absolute nonsense? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just speculating. So yeah, you can see the volume was very low back then, right? And really, that late February jump, and then it never looked back ever since, and accumulate. And suddenly now, why now though? That's my main question. Why now is suddenly the volume so much lower, right? And it's still like when you're looking back, like it's still not as low as it was, right? Because this individual is talking about how it used to be like anywhere from 100 to 200 shares traded, and now it's 15,000 and 20,000. And then also keep in mind, per huge percentage of it off exchange, right? That's a very interesting factor as well. On June 3rd, 2024, as most of us know, a massive glitch, as this user puts it, occurs on Berkshire Class A stock. Only Class B was not affected, which I found also very interesting. If you look at Berkshire Class B, right, there's nothing strange going on with it. It seems consistent. Most of its volume is not off exchange, right? Or no like anomaly has happened in any which way. Random spikes in volume, but I think it's a much lower price point. There's a lot more people buying it rather than Berkshire A, right? I don't even know if you could do fractional shares of Berkshire A at this point in time. And the stock prints on the tape at 185 per share, causing a trading halt that lasted almost 2 hours. That's the thing too. It wasn't like just suddenly fixed. It was a 2-hour halt. So like that is very rare, right? That doesn't just happen for no reason. I'm not saying, oh, I know why, but it just doesn't happen for no reason, right? It was determined there was a glitch and trades occurring at this price were canceled. When the stock unhalted, the stock ran to 726K a share and quickly came back to where it was trading at before the event occurred. And as we saw back here, right, that at a certain point too, it actually touched 741,000, even higher. So, what's up? No. But So someone just dropped off food at my house and no one ordered food here. It's very strange. They're like, "Did you order food?" I'm like, "I'm streaming. Why would I be ordering food?" It's so strange. Um, but yeah, I totally lost my train of thought now. That threw me off. But yeah, look where so it's funny though. They did remove, right? Because this is the day it happened. They did remove the very low point it had where it went all the way down to 189. It's like off the chart here. Like it was shown initially on some charts, but that portion is gone. So to finish the post here though, quickly came back to where it was trading after the event occurred. All this happened on the same day here, right? So where this is the point it happened for Berkshire, and this is for GameStop. We had a huge spike in the morning, and then when the halt happened for Berkshire, GameStop starts crashing, right? All food for thought, although, GameStop then ran again here, so what does it mean? I don't know. It's provocative, gets the people going. A few days after this occurred on June 7th, in pre-market, GME announces 75 million share at the money, and stock trades on heavy volume as well. 280 million shares traded. This is true. Tons and tons of shares traded during that period. Where were we? Yeah, right here. This is crazy. So many shares. This was the most. People are saying, "Oh yeah, this is all retail." Give me a break. Give me a break. On the same day, the GME announces its offering. Berkshire Class A goes from averaging 15 to 20,000 shares traded daily to 2,000 shares traded daily. This trend has remained since June 7, 2021. Or 2021, what the heck? There's no year there. But and as we can see here, this is exactly the case, right? Like looking at the volume, it's dropped off a ton. It's the lowest volume we've seen in years for Berkshire Hathaway, right? And this is the day of the glitch right here where a lot of it suddenly was on exchange. And then the next few days, we still had a lot of volume. But then since the 7th, right, which is also the point back here, when we look at GME, this was the point it opened up huge in the pre-market and then came all the way back down, right? And also that is the day of the share issuance that was announced. So right here, right? Very interesting. It started running a lot. And then suddenly share offering. Obviously that was a Thursday. I did a stream. I was like, oh my God, things are crazy. I was like, here we go. Is this really it? Oh, all right. Back to usual, right? Back to holding. But again, all just food for thought here, guys. So it's the question: what exactly is the connection between GME and Berkshire's Class A? That's exactly my question. The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? I don't know. My name's not Mason, so I couldn't tell you, right? But no, jokes aside, and just be clear, it's all just food for thought here. I'm not trying to say it's this, it's that, but doesn't it just seem odd? Like there's something going on here, right? Too many coincidences. And I can't tie it all together. I can't connect all the dots, but there's a lot of interesting information here. There's no doubt about that. And when you look at it and you're like, it's a true head scratcher to me. It's like something is going on here, but I don't quite know what. I can't guarantee there's something going on, but that's just how I see it. At this point, there seems to be some type of connection here, as no market news would have caused Berkshire's Class A to behave the way it has. I'm not going to draw any conclusions here, as we could go down the rabbit hole of swaps, collateral shuffling, etc. I'm more or less wanting to draw attention to the oddities revolving around both of these securities and to open things up for discussion of potential connections here. Best, Biggie. Shout out to you, Biggie. Good post. I like that. The way this person wrote this is exactly kind of how I try and talk on these streams, right? Where I present these ideas and I try to say this is for certain, this is this, or that is that. Just, hey, this looks interesting here, right? So I'm going to discuss it in a very open-ended way. So let's see what some of the comments are, right? First, let me see what you guys say, and then we're going to look at some of the comments here, right? But, it's Berkshire a funny business, as this person puts it, right? And maybe we'll look through that one next, but getting pretty burnt out here, so. I just want to turn to sour. So totally won't fit in the Lambo. 75 million shares negates DRS. 45 million is icing the case. How is DRS relevant? All work to DRS over 2 years, gone in 3 days. Coffee, I see what you're saying, but at the end of the day, for me with DRS, right, I get the perspective, but once it's kind of hit a wall, I just see it as like it's how individuals choose to personally hold their shares, right? Some people personally want it directly registered in their name. That's really important to them. Other people don't trust ComputerShare, whatever the case, right? And for me, I have some shares of ComputerShare, some not. So it's all about personal preference and what you want with your shares and like what your standpoint is. It's never a bad thing to pull shares out of DTCC and own it under your name regardless of the dilution. I'm not delighted, but not the end of the world in my opinion. Exactly right, exactly. are seeing the board buying shares. A lot of them would be a good step forward. Coffee, I would agree very much. I'd love to see that. Yep, it's the most realistic catalyst that could increase value at the moment, but who knows? Yeah, and I think, if the price goes lower, and like we were saying before, if it goes to 10, I think we see all three individual investors flood in and buy a lot of shares, institutions buy a lot of shares, and insiders buy a lot of shares if we go to 10, right? But again, I find that very hard to believe, given that they have almost $10 in cash per share, right? 962 per share in cash, roughly, as of this time. And it looks like they're going to be absolutely net profitable given the interest income, because on $4.15 billion, 5% of that is $207 million. So they can earn roughly $207 million on $4.15 billion. That's significantly going to swing their bottom line to be profitable, right? Unless operations lose a ton and things fall off, because we've seen, operations have been improving, right? Although, this is net income, not operating income, because interest income gets calculated in. You have revenue, calculate out cost of goods, calculate out SG&A, then you have your operating income, and then you would either subtract interest payments, right, if you have debt, and then it would put it at a lower number, but you add, when you have, if GameStop Investors Relations is working, you could see that, then you add the interest income, which I think it was... I think I have it in here too. And by the way, guys, this app, Obsidian, is so cool because you can basically have, there we go. You can basically have real websites, like real time in there. Let's see, current reports, or just, where's the 10Q? Or, we'll just go to the simpler earnings release. Boom. You can see down here. So what I'm talking about with like all this interest income, like looking at this particular quarter, revenue roughly 881 million, cost of sales was roughly 637 million. That brings them to a gross profit of 244, but then on overhead they spent 295 SG&A. So this is their operating profit right here, right? Operating just from strict operations, sales minus cost of goods gives you gross profit, minus SG&A gives you the operating profit or loss. In this case, it was a loss. But if you look at Q4, it was a slight profit, right? And then interest income, because it's income, you put it as a negative, and then two negatives make a positive. So you're adding back this number. If they had 14.9 million of debt payments to make, right? For example, let's say it's another company, just for the sake of examples here, they would add this number to the 50.6, and then their loss for taxes, and then also you calculate in the income tax benefit, but it's usually a very small amount, would bring you to the net loss, right? And this number would be more like negative 67 million or something to that effect. But since they have interest income, it gets added in, and then while they might have an operating loss, right? Like let's look at Q2 of last year. Like let's say it's a similar situation. So they make a gross profit of 305, SG&A is 322, and then operating loss is negative 16.6 million. But then they added in 11.6 in interest income, right? So let's say their operating loss again is exactly in line year over year, and it's negative $16.6 million of operating loss. But now, let's say it's roughly $50 million of interest income, right? Because we're saying about 200 million for the full year. About one quarter would be a little bit over 50 million, right? It would be negative 16 million plus roughly 50 million, and they would be at a net profit of 35 million. Again, not anything astonishing, right? But that's what I'm saying, where they can just operate pretty much breaking even, or even a slight operational loss, right? Ideally, just break even on operations, and then you could put yourself, by being net profitable, on the bottom line, and in turn positive EPS because of the interest income, right? That's all I'm trying to say here. And I'm not trying to say, oh, this is great, everything's fine and dandy, it's all perfect, easy, but I'm just saying they're all right where they are from here. They really are right at this given moment in time. Yep, it's the most realistic catalyst. DTC, so you can grab shares of computer share if they are in plan. Very good point, Coffee. That's the thing too that a lot of people don't realize. Like there's shares in plan, and then there's pure DRS, which is 100% book. For me personally, my computer shares, I've completely terminated plan, so I only have book shares. Look at all that. They need to be in the book, but DTCC can do crazy stuff in low liquidity. Exactly, Coffee. Exactly. You're not wrong. Angel number 741 is a sign of fulfillment. First Google result. That's pretty cool, X. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't realize that. I love Warren Buffett, but you got to wonder how much he knows about all this. Ryan, I do wonder about that too, because you look back at some of the stuff he says, right? And like you think about him as a person, and he has said before, like, I'm willing to loan out my stock. We're willing to loan out Berkshire because that's just extra money for us, and we believe in the longevity of the company, right? So sure, we'll loan out the shares. So maybe he's loaning them out, but he's not, although I would say given his status, he must have some understanding of what's going on, right? And I'm surprised. I don't think he ever said anything about the Berkshire glitch, right? It would be kind of interesting to see his thoughts, but you would think like he would know somewhat what's going on, but at the same time, they're just like, oh yeah, Mr. Buffett, we're just borrowing your shares, right? We're just borrowing your shares for this or that, and just saying it very like lightly and not be getting into the specifics. Maybe he doesn't necessarily know, but at the same time, he's Warren Buffett. Like you're gonna try and sneak one by Warren Buffett. I guess maybe since he's a little older now, but he's still like from looking at highlights of the last shareholder like meeting that they had, he's still pretty sharp. Given his age, I would say, respective to his age, he's still fairly sharp, and he's still Warren Buffett. It's like you're gonna try and sneak one past him. So that is a good question, right? I don't know, and I do definitely wonder what does he think about what happened with the Berkshire glitch, right? You look at that, he's like, all right, imagine like, oh my god, but. Tetron, I personally believe Michael Burry's been slightly calling out the BS of Berkshire stock going back to the start of that volume on his Twitter. Interesting, Patrick. I'll have to look back on that. I appreciate that insight. I'm going to write that on my little notes here. So those are like old Michael Burry tweets, but I don't have to use the Wayback Machine because doesn't this guy like delete everything? He always like deletes his tweets all the time. People always make jokes like, "Oh yeah, Michael Burry is called 15 out of the last 3 market crashes," because he's always like calling for a market crash. 741, when it comes to money and career, means it's time to take risks. Second Google result. Interesting. When this number appears, you are on the right path and have the power to manifest your dreams. Astrology website. Okay, I'll take it. Interesting. I love like to me like 741's a meme, but at the same time like it's so deep, right? It's like there's so many different ways it's popped up. It's so interesting. Right? It's just a fascinating phenomenon to me. I have 2 brokers and also computer share. I diversify so I get chances if things get dodgy. I think that's fair, D. I think that absolutely makes sense. Got a dip tonight, but thanks for another great stream, brother. Expecting nothing, but keeping these to the jack. I'd still like to lead the DFE return for a reason. Peace. Ryan, have a good night, man. Yes, sir. I kind of feel the same, brother. Why don't you GME to buy some IEP and collect 24% dividends? Namac, thanks for being here. That'd be crazy. Listen, I mean, I didn't even realize their dividend. Are they going to cut it at all? I know I haven't been following what's going on with the whole Icon situation. I know it's some notorious like short selling firm basically said like IEP is cooking the books, and that's where they said it right here, and the stock fell a lot. They're making it look, better than what it is, but at the same time, when you have a company like that, when they come out, they're notorious for short selling, right? And they announce like, oh yeah, like this is clearly a bad situation, right? A bad stock, and then the price falls a lot, like they profit off of that a lot, right? And you could argue, oh, that's market manipulation, right? But separate topic in itself. But that is a large dividend. But usually when a stock falls like this, I don't know the specifics of it. It's definitely possible that that dividend does get cut, right? Even if it's like temporarily. But I don't know. I haven't looked into Icon in a while. Balance sheet, 7 billion in debt, probably very long dated because the current ratio is pretty strong. It's over 1. Not as much inside ownership as I thought. I thought Icon owned more, right? But again, I always say this, so I gotta stay true to it. You look at Yahoo Finance and websites like this for like an overview, just some quick ideas, quick thoughts. But when you want specifics, then you go to the company's filings to know more information. That's really the best way to do it. I would start buying again at 10. Me too, honestly. Me too, man. What if someone was rich as and was like, I'm going to stamp a 741 order in this thing just to mess with these guys or send a message? Sheesh. Yeah, Patrick, you never know, man. You never truly know. So now it'll go back to 10. I would YOLO everything from there. So I might be waiting a long time now. 18. Totally possible, rather unlikely in my honest opinion. Yeah, exactly, D. I think those are great points because think about it like this, right? Where the lowest GameStop went when they had like right here, right? When it got to the point where they're $10 a share, at that point in time, they had roughly $4 a share in cash per share, right? I think I might have an old screenshot. No, not here. Okay, so you guys, I got my full arsenal of information. got some competitors over here, different things. But okay, I don't have it pulled up right now, but I do have it somewhere where it's like it used to be about $4 in share per cash before the dilution or dilute share issuance, however you want to describe it, right? Same thing. But at this point in time, they had roughly $4 per share in the form of cash, right? And when you think about it, when it went down to 10, that meant like for every $4 in share, so 40% of the market cap was represented in cash. So if you look at now, we're at $10 a share, almost $10 a share in cash per share. If it equates the same, right? What are we looking at? Like if 40% of it is that, then we're looking at like $24 a share, right? Roughly given. So like if we're valuing it in that same way, right? Where like as a percentage of cash per share at that time versus now, you would think it's probably not even going to go back to 20, right? But I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I've been in this journey a long time where I've seen a lot of theories play out and not play out and ideas come and go and all kinds of different things, right? So you don't truly know. It's cheap, just wait. Back down to 40. Listen, Pepe, you never know. Let's see. What would be epic is if they bought an amount of Bitcoin, follow MSTR strategy. Pepe, yeah, listen, I've definitely seen people throw that idea out there, and like I respect it. I'm not totally opposed to it, but like I think overly aggressive would not be the way. But I also understand like a lot of I think GameStop shareholders would be like, I don't know, right? But I think if they did do it, they would have to do it with a very small amount, especially given that Bitcoin is up quite a bit. And I do agree, though. I think it's going to be worth more in the future. Absolutely. And if you're playing the long-term game, does it matter too much right now? But at the same time, it's a little more complicated than that, right? And that's like MicroStrategy's thing. And they're not MicroStrategy, so Pepitoshi Buffett, basically. The other has to implode too. Only 3 cents in the bank, not the dollar they promised. Yeah, coffee. I've tried to read on that a little bit, and I mean I haven't looked at it in a while, but it does seem like that they do have a good amount of cash reserves for it, but like cash equivalents, and then who are those companies that hold it for them? It gets very like wonky, right? So yeah, I am very skeptical of Tether, right? And I could see that blowing up and causing like big shockwaves in the market. Although I can't say for sure, right? Could you imagine if every single person on the planet during GameStop and no one sold? Christian? That'd be crazy. So how about that? That would be wild. Thanks, but I don't need it. Math. A DTCC could print 140% more and sell it. I'm a single mom, and I heard all kinds of things about Roaring Kitty, and a few other people told me this was a big break for me to put some money in the game, buy some GameStop, and I regret it. Well, I'll never put money in again in meme stock or penny stock. Listen, Lisa, I see where you're coming from, but I would say the best thing to do is take that as a learning lesson. Like I do feel for you. I'm sorry that you bought at a price point you regret. That is the unfortunate thing about these things, where there's a lot of accounts, hyping things up. Oh, this is the moment. This is happening, right? This is the gamma squeeze, right? This is the big break. But I really think in a time of a lot of noise, you got to try and zoom out and take everything with a grain of salt and try and just really look at the facts, zoom out, look at every aspect of things, and also just in general, never put in more you can afford to lose. Put in like a very small amount if you don't have a lot to put in. So really, I would say the best thing you can do is take it as a learning lesson. For me, I personally believe in GameStop in the long term, but given your own situation, everyone has their own individual situation and just strategy they want to go about things. So I would determine what's best for you. I'm not here to say, oh yeah, just hold. It's all going to be perfectly fine, right? Like I personally think it'll be worth more in the future, but you have to determine like for me, I have a very long-term basis, right? Like I'm ready to hold all this way here and see what plays out over these next several years, right? But I totally understand like not everyone's in that boat, and that's all right. So for me, I always think you got to just learn from everything you go through within the markets, right? Like nobody's perfect, nobody does everything super effectively. Everyone makes mistakes and goes through hiccups, and unfortunately, that is the harsh reality of the market. And for me personally, I was very fortunate where I started messing with the market at a young age, and that not that I became all this expert because I've been in the market since I'm like 15 or 16. I had no idea what I was doing those first like 4 or 5 years, right? I feel like when I turned 21, that's when I really started. Okay, now I'm starting to get this game, right? But I was fortunate to get those like 5 or so years of experience and do all the stupid stuff early before I had like significant income or were in a spot where I could lose significant money, right? At that time, the money I was investing was money I made like when I went snow shoveling. So I was very fortunate to like gain those valuable lessons at that time, right? So that's just my story though, right? Everyone has their own story, and that's the unique part about this to me too. Also, like the whole GameStop journey, like everyone has their own unique story. Don't double down on AMC, Lisa. Yeah, no, listen, Coffee. I would definitely agree with that. Of course, I'm not in the business of giving financial advice, but AMC is a dumpster fire, if you personally ask me. Like, I understand people like the movies. I don't have a personal vendetta against the movies, but the reality of it is they're just padding their pockets at the top, and they haven't really done anything to improve business. If they truly want to improve the business, they should close the unprofitable movie theaters. They shouldn't have invested in a gold mine. And when they do their share offerings, right, they're doing it just to survive, to pay off debt, right? They're loaded with debt. And on top of it, when they do their share offerings, it was a private market deal, off the market, like, so not offered at the money, like GameStop's was, like just into the open market, whoever wants to buy them, right? Privately negotiated with like a specific hedge fund at a set price that is lower than what the current AMC price was, right? So like what they did basically, right? To give you an analogy, people think, oh, you just don't like the movies. They're the same thing. Why do you hate on it? I'm like, it's not that simple. Like, it's it's not that I don't like the movies, right? Let's see, refresh here. I just want to come up like this. Okay, so let's say right now, AMC did a share offering. Oh my goodness. Yeah, guys, I gotta wrap it up. I'm getting burnt out. Okay. Oh my God, why is it all the way up here? This damn chart. Research. Okay. So basically what they did in the past, right? If say they did today what they did in the past, what they did was, okay, we're gonna issue shares. So they go off the market. They privately negotiated with a hedge fund. Like, okay, we're gonna issue shares. We'll give you guys, will you guys buy 100 shares off us at $4.40 a piece? And obviously it's like bigger numbers. And then they agree on the deal. Okay, boom, it goes through. And then the news comes out of that. It's like, hey, wait, the price is at $4.90. The shares were just privately negotiated at $4.40. Why not sell them into the open market? Because there's nobody who wants to buy them, right? And with GameStop, whether you think it's individuals or institutions or a combination of both, I think is honestly mostly institutions. There's clearly demand for people buying them because, again, when you look right here, especially the last one, 75 million shares sold over a 3-day period. That is remarkable. And the price is still held up relatively well considering they just went through this and they went through another share offering shortly before that, right? And that one was completed in 6 days, and that was only 45 million shares. So that one I thought was impressive alone. But this one, and it's ATM, right? It's like anyone could buy them in the open market. So any institution that needs shares for one reason or another was able to buy them in the open market. And again, I don't think it's just a coincidence that they chose right now to issue the shares. That Roaring Kitty came back. Like, there's things I don't fully understand, and I'm just documenting as I go, trying to figure it all out, just like everyone else. But some things are coincidences, but some things I'm not so sure. I don't think they just issued shares for the sake of issuing shares, right? Like, they chose particularly, right? They could have did it back here, right? Imagine they did it back here. They wouldn't have got a lot, right? They chose over here, and then they chose over here, and they were able to get, shares sold at an average price of $28.49 the last time, and the time prior to that was an average of $20.74. And if you had told anyone just like a month ago, right, when GameStop was, or a couple months ago, let's say 2 months ago today, you have April 17th, and you go, in 2 months from now, like, this is an appointment stock's at like roughly $10 a share, right? You go to April 17th, you're right here in the morning, or it's the nighttime, it's after hours, stock's at $10, I'm streaming, I'm like, guys, I'm from the future. In 2 months from now, the company's going to have $4 billion in cash on their balance sheet, and the price is going to be 150% higher at $25 a share. You say, what? You're crazy. How much dilution? How would that even happen? What price would they sell shares at? That doesn't make any sense. And yet here we are today, right? Here we are today. Isn't that wild? So there's clearly demand for the shares. There's undoubtedly demand for the shares. I think that's just what this shows, and I don't think 120 million shares sold over such a short period of time just comes from the average person. Especially, we're not in post-pandemic era where there's just money coming in everywhere from stimulus checks and people just trying to get into anything, right? Like, I just think it's such a different time period, and it's, to me, very evident that is demand from institutions that bought those shares. Let's see. Should I GME buy IP? I don't know about that, Namac. I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't think I have enough. I just wish I could figure out a way to have my money back. I have unrealized losses in a few penny stocks and also GameStop. I just wish I didn't do this. Yeah, Lisa, listen, I'm so sorry. Like, I feel for you. Like, I do apologize that, it's not gone the way you have. Really all you can do is like take the lessons from it at this point, right? And I think with penny stocks in general, it is extremely risky, right? Penny stocks, like there's a lot of shady things that go on with the market. And even with GameStop, right? Like zooming out, outside person perspective, to me, I don't see it as risky because I feel like I know about it and I understand where I'm at with it. But from an outside person's perspective to the average person, GameStop is like a high risk, high reward investment, right? And I fully accept that. I understand that. So you kind of, when you go with investing, right? And by the way, I'm no expert, right? I'm just learning as I go. You got to really just figure out like where you're at. So I would say, you want to maybe start with some blue chips if you do want to cycle out of what you have right now. That might be something to consider. So it all really depends on yourself as an individual. And I would just encourage you, like, keep reading, keep learning. And, I've been messing with stocks, like I was saying, since I'm like 16-ish, 15, 16. I'm about to turn 24. I'm still so far from an expert, right? Like, I still have so much more to learn. But just time in the market over timing the market tends to be best, right? And from just reading and understanding things, and like the simplest thing you can do, right? Stupid Gemini, get out of here. No, is just keep learning. And the simplest thing you can do, right? And Warren Buffett always says, and a lot of people say, just buy the S&P 500. Historically speaking, the S&P 500 has always done very, very well on a long-term basis, right? All-time chart. That's not an all-time chart. What the heck? Oh, I put in soy. I was like, what the heck? What was the space bar? Takes me to S&P. Yeah, like look at the S&P on a long-term basis. So it's all about knowing thyself and just learning as you go, right? On a long-term basis, though, the S&P has always done very, very well, just historically speaking. Tax write-off, that's true. Very good point, Coffee. Yeah, you do get a tax write-off at the very least. You can write off $3,000 per year if you have more than $3,000 in losses. Let's say you have $6,000. You can carry that other $3,000 over to the next year to write off at the very least, right? Be okay, Lisa. Invest in something better company. You go back and understand tolerance risk. Never rely on the form of investment. These exact companies are not penny stocks. You mean? Old Man Dota. What if people started doing buy rate or covered call writing? People start leading their shares, gaining a bit of income. With that income, you just keep buying GME shares. A year ago, MSTR was 289, now 1507. Damn, Pepe, you're not wrong though. MSTR has done very, very well. But old man, yeah, listen, everyone has their own strategy. There's no, I think, perfect way to be in GameStop or any stock, right? Everyone's going to do what they want to do at the end of the day. That's what a free and fair open market should be. But the thing with writing covered calls, and you see the nature of GameStop, it's like if you write a covered call and then it explodes, you're like, oh, I can't believe I chose that time to write a covered call, right? Like imagine you were writing right in here, you wrote a $15 covered call. Oh, great, I got some premium. Then you got stopped out at 15, and now you're like, right? So if anything, I would say, if you're an investor, maybe, and like this is what I think about doing, like where I've been selling puts. I'm like, what do I do though if one of them gets exercised? Potentially, what I do is I sell a covered call, or I sell those, dare I say, sell those 100 shares, and then turn around and sell another put. But what I would be doing with that, right, where I'm talking about selling covered calls, and that would only be after a cash secured put gets exercised, right? To be perfectly clear, what I'm doing in that situation for me personally, and again, do what you all want to do as individuals. What I'm doing in that spot is I'm setting aside a certain amount of money and doing this entirely separate from my long-term holding. I would never ever sell covered calls on my long-term holding. That's my approach, at least. And again, you got to do what you want. But to me, if I'm going to take the approach of selling options, right? Like I said, I'm selling puts, and if I do get into a situation where maybe I sell a call, I fully accept that I'm potentially leaving a lot of money on the table because of the nature of the stock, number one. And number two, that is entirely separate, right? I would see that's more like my trading section of what I'm doing. Like I would do a whole separate account and everything. That's what I do for selling my puts. I do have it separate than any other like shares of anything that I hold long term. So I would just put that like in a separate bucket, right? I think that's the best way to go about it. But the idea of selling covered calls, I'm like, I don't know if I can do that honestly. So I had line lost everything doing a GME covered calls. Damn. Yeah, see, that's the thing too. That's the thing too. Very dangerous. So never just fall if you don't have a conviction, you don't believe in the thesis, you need to money and go for safer options. Individual stocks investments are incredibly risky. Exactly, dude. Exactly. The covered calls thing is such a show move. If you believe in the potential, then you wouldn't want to get caught selling calls. Exactly. Exactly, dude. Exactly. You're not wrong. Like just to clarify, if I'm talking about like trading, and that's why I don't really trade, right? Because I'm like, I don't know, that just stresses me out, and it would have nothing to do with my long-term position. There'll always be another opportunity to make money. Don't chase what's already been made. Exactly, Expo. Exactly. Average on so much, I'm pretty much green still. He's chasing the cheap buck, but it's spiking the loss like 50K. Damn. Yeah, see, that's crazy. That sucks. Tetron, thank you. I got you, Lisa. I got you. I try and always keep it real. Listen, I'm not a professional. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I do really wish you all the best. Deserved. The Berkshire Hathaway of our generation. A quest called tribe. Thank you for being here. It's possible. That's what they say. GameStop, Stopaway, right? That's just what they say. I too sympathize with you. Also learned the hard way. I've lost about 21,000 Canadian dollars with share value of GME till date. Yeah, Edwell, listen, it's all about the lessons, man. It's all about the lessons. It really is. Looking at SP 500 charges, looks like something is wrong. It has to fix itself at some point. LOL. I know. I really do feel like that too. When I look at it, I'm like, okay, zooming out, zooming out. What was the last correction, right? Even the last correction we had right during the pandemic just comes right back, roaring back, like nothing happened, right? Like nobody's business. Crazy. If by some chance you make a new investment in another stock and profit to the point of getting all your money back, in an ideal scenario, capital losses will wipe out your gains, no tax. Also good point, Charles. But before doubling down, careful because the government considers that a wash sale. So if you want to manage to break even or close, you don't want to be able to claim any losses in cap gains. Yes, it's very important, guys, and I've really been trying to work on this. Understand the tax code, right? It's easier said than done, but in a world where you have the internet, you have artificial intelligence, and don't just blindly trust AI. But what I do, right, is when I don't understand something, what I do is I take it, right? If I'm reading something about the tax code, and I'll just like Investopedia or something like that, or any website, or SEC website itself, whatever. Or SEC is not taxes, right? But what I do is I'll copy and paste some information, and then I'll say like, explain, right? If I had this, I would go into Chat GPT, right? And then I would go here, I would go, explain in simple terms. Like, let's say this was like a complex piece of text, right? Like I would, or if I just pulled someone's tweet randomly, right? So like I just pull my own tweet just to see what it says, right? I'm curious. It's pretty simple already, but what I do is explain in simple terms. And this is how I've been learning about taxes. So I'm like, in a scenario of this, this, and that, if this happens, then that happens, and that happens, what would be my taxable income, right? Like I was running some numbers on that, and just for trial and error, just to clarify, like I'm not blindly trusting ChatGPT to do my taxes, but I'm just saying it's a great tool to help you learn, right? So right here, you just get some information explaining it. So it can. That's the cool part about for me about AI. Like one of the coolest parts is it really just can help you like learn things and break things down. Pay attention. I believe you're onto something with Berkshire. There's something there and worth digging into. Have some reading have read some digs on Buffett. He's an evil globalist piece of shit. World's a better place without Munger. Pepe, yeah, listen, sounds like you read a lot more than me in terms of how deep it could potentially go, but it seems like something's going on there, right? It seems like something's going on. At the very least, something or another. What exactly? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. All I do know is Warren Buffett's made a lot of money over these years, and he is one of the biggest companies. I remember Scott Trade, a $7.99 to buy or sell, no payment for order flow in 2008. Crazy coffee, yeah, crazy. I remember going to Scott Trade with my mom, opening the brokerage account because I was only 15. You need to be like dual account, right? And they were asking her questions, and she's like, I don't know, he wants to do this. I'm like, oh, yeah, no. And I was like trying to make it no accent like I'm talking about, right? But I did have a good conversation. The lady was very nice. She's like, no, it's fantastic. Like you're starting now. You know, not a lot of kids your age are interested in doing this stuff. And I used to, one of the first guys I ever watched, like I'm sure you guys have seen him, like Financial Education. I don't really watch him now. On occasion, like he's all right. Like I don't necessarily agree with all his picks or opinions, but I always liked his approach, right? Where he was very like simple and like he just seems like a cool dude. I don't know. And he called Tesla way before it went up. I will say that. So yeah, I don't know. I try and also like watching other YouTubers. I try and always just like learn because there's always something to learn from other people, right? So. He'll just said it during the meeting if you listened, lol. Let's see. Lesson learned. Sure, they'll always be listening to the hype. Yeah, Lisa, that's the thing. Yeah, there's always gonna be hype, right? That's the thing. You can't get caught up in FOMO. It's tough. It's tough though. It's easier said than done, and you learn through tough decisions. Yes, thank you so much. I will continue to listen. I meant to say lesson learn for sure. I'll be more listening to the hype. It's all yeah, Lisa. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. It's tough pill to swallow. You know, when you make a mistake, you're like, ah, oh, I can't believe I did that, right? And I know for myself personally, I beat myself up a lot when I make a mistake, right? Like I'm not like completely like I don't know. I mean, I just feel like I guess more than the average person where I'm like I'm like, I could have been better. I could have made a better spot, right? Like I give you a random example outside the stock market. This couple weekends ago, I got into a fender bender on the highway. First, well, one other time when I was in college, I made a turn and this girl made a turn at the same time. It was kind of awkward timing. I think that was technically my fault, but with the slightest little crash, I was like, fuck. And thankfully, she's like, I don't want to call the cops. There's no damage. And my license plate fell off. It was when I drove a 2002 Honda Accord. I used to call it the Millennium Falcon because it was gray and it was always breaking down like the Millennium Falcon. Like they were always repairing it. I was always repairing the car. Not myself. I wasn't handy like that, but I was always bringing a mechanic. And I'm like, I'm back. So that was the only accident I had until this weekend, right? And I'm 24 now. I've been driving 7 years. I feel like I'm a pretty decent driver. Like I really do try and drive defensive, but like everyone else, I'm not perfect. Um, on the highway, this guy, like it's like stop and go traffic, and I'm talking to my friend. We're going to the casino for the weekend because it's his birthday and my other friend's birthday, right? So it's a group thing. We're talking about it. This was 2 Friday mornings ago. So I also had ran a stream that morning. I worked all day. I'm trying to rush to get ready at the end of the day to go and like think about what we're gonna do there. We're talking. I'm thinking about GameStop. That's what my friend who was in the passenger seat with me. He's like, literally said when we get to the casino, we meet our other friends. Like, yo, it took so long. I'm like, oh, we get this mini fender bender, and thankfully, totally fine. Really no damage, right? And I'll get to the story after. But basically, to preface it, like my friend was like, bro, Noah got into a car crash because he was thinking about GameStop too much. I'm like, bro, what are you saying? He's like, this guy's so obsessed with GameStop, he literally couldn't stop thinking about it and he crashed the car. Like, that's what he kept saying to my friends. The rest of my friends we got there, I'm like, bro, that's not what happened. I wasn't even on my phone or anything. We were just talking and like a lot was on my mind. But no excuses, right? Like, I try and really take full accountability, but I was the whole time of the first night, I was like, damn, like, I should have been driving more careful. I should have seen that coming. Should have been more prepared, right? Because it was like stop go traffic. We weren't going super fast, but it was like stop go, little momentum, kind of stop. And then out of nowhere, like this guy just stopped short in front of me, and then I slammed on the brakes and just little, doop, like little love tap, right? Nothing, but it's a 17-year-old kid. Literally just got his license a month ago, and he's driving like a BMW, and I'm like, okay. I'm talking to the dad on the phone. And he's like, "Oh, are you ready to pay?" I'm like, "There's literally no damage." I was like, "If you really want, we can do a police report." But honestly, like both our insurances are just gonna go up. Like, so be it. But ultimately, we decided to walk our separate ways. We exchanged info just in case, but I haven't heard anything. Knock on wood. Everything seems fine. I mean, I also have an image of the car. Like, literally, there's like the slightest, tiniest, itsy bitsy mark, right? And for me, my license plate just bent a little. So be it, right? But while nothing really happened, it could have been much worse. And that's what I try and tell myself. Like, it could have been much worse. I'm very thankful to be okay. It wasn't major, right? And I haven't really been in any accidents in my whole life. Again, knock on wood, knock on wood. But I was still beating myself up so much. I was like, I should have been smarter. But then my friend's like, bro, like, he just got his license too, and he did stop short. Like, it's not really all your fault. I'm like, I know, but I could have been more prepared. I could have left more space in between. I let my mind be all over the place, right? Like, I was focusing on the road, right? But when you're driving, you ever drive somewhere and then you get there and you're like, how did I get there? How did I just get here? And not like I'm fucked up or something, right? Not like that, but you know what I mean? Where you're just kind of like zoned out. Like you're paying attention to the road, but like there's other things on your mind and you're kind of like on autopilot, but you are paying attention. Am I the only one that happens to? It was one of those kind of situations, right? And I was beating myself like, how? It's the road. You're driving. You're on the highway. Like your friend's in the car. Your life is in your. Like you can just not pay attention because there's a lot on your mind. Like what I'm saying? That's what's going through my head, and like that's how I was like beating myself up, right? But then I tried to zoom out. Like okay, I'm okay. No major damage to the car. My friend's okay. The kid had a dog in the back seat too. It was like a hatchback, and the dog was like in a cage in the back seat. And I was like, first thing I was like, bro, is your dog okay? And he's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, okay, thank God. Like I felt terrible if something happened to that. But my point is like you try and when you beat yourself up, you want to like, okay, why am I beating myself up? I try and really analyze it. I'm just a heavy analyzer too. Anyone that knows me too, especially my brother, he's like I'll be analyzing things for like so long. He's like, bro, you're still thinking about that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's just my example of, outside zooming out, right? Not just stocks, like where I beat myself up. Like, I could have been better there. I could have been mentally sharper. I could have left more space in between. Yeah. So it's all about learning lessons in life, right? And that's what I feel like I'm very thankful at a young age to realize, like, got to keep learning and improving. Like, it's easier said than done, right? But yeah, about to wrap it up here. I'm completely just rambling at this point. So buckle up, folks. Buckle up, folks. I'm out of here by the time he reads the CL. Second time being here, chill, dude. Quest, I appreciate that, man. It's all good. Yeah, sorry, I'm always behind on the chat. I appreciate it. Not financial advice, but it's the only investment I'll own, and savings is long. Hey, I respect it. Best of luck, brother. Yes, thank you so much. I'll continue to listen. I meant to say lesson. Oh, no, you're good. Lisa, pretend you're at a casino. Stock market set up to the masses. The rich people own it and run it. It's true, Coffee. It's true. What's that meme? He ain't lying. He ain't lying. I mean, buy red strategy, not the call options. Okay. Okay, gotcha, Dota. Always focus on what you control and look back when you could have done better. Don't worry about what you can't control. Stuff will line up if you're doing what you're supposed to do. Yeah, X1. That's, I think, a very great point. It's something I'm definitely realizing more and more over time. Like, if you just keep doing the right things, like, good things happen to good people. And, not always instantaneously, but on a long term basis, when you put in the work, you put in the time, for whatever it is, right? Like, I feel like things get better and better. And it's easier said than done. But GameStop, what a piece of shit. LOL. Jokers, thanks for being here. I welcome the Bulls. I welcome the Bears. You can keep hating on it all you want. But you have to admit, this is a fascinating story. This is a fascinating story. Am I wrong? Sometimes I drive for 20, 30 minutes in dead silence before I realize it. LOL. Yeah, see, I know I can't play the only one, X1. I know I can't. And it's like, I'm paying attention. I'm not like on anything or something like that, or like drinking. God, no, that would be so stupid. In the day and age of Uber, I don't understand. I know friends of friends who've gotten DUIs, and I'm like, bro, don't be cheap. Just spend the money on the Uber. It's not worth the cost of a DUI, and like, that's on your license forever. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, it's like it's always worth doing the Uber, right? Like, it's crazy not to. And like, even if I'm having like, I know there's even a chance I'm gonna have more than one drink. More than one drink. I always just Uber. Like, I don't care. I just spend the money, even if I don't wind up drinking that much. Better off, right? Better off. Or if it's like a friend's house, it's better because then it's like, all right, I'll just Uber home and I'll get my car in the morning, right? Because a lot of my friends live near me, and then I'll have another friend just drive me back there, right? Whatever the case. So always be responsible. Always be responsible. Thank you all. I'll be back and listen again. Lisa, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope you have a fantastic night, and I wish you all the best. Is that what it come down to? We have to gamble with our money to outpace its devaluation because the powers that ought to be inflate the fuck out of it. Bitcoin fixes this. Absolute scarcity. Papatoshi, I will say, I'm about to wrap it up here, but I want to be clear, bro. I do absolutely believe in Bitcoin. I've been accumulating Bitcoin for the past couple of years. I wish I accumulated more when it was lower. And I have cold storage. For me with Bitcoin, I put some in an account where like I'm willing to sell it at like when we get to the 100, 150 range, like a small portion of it, but everything in cold storage, I'm a hodler, baby. I'm a hodler. So don't get me wrong, because yeah, that's the thing. As long as the dollar's being printed and Bitcoin is disinflationary, whereas the dollar is extremely inflationary, and so long as we're running a deficit, and so long as we have high interest rates, like this snowball just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think Bitcoin is an emerging alternative asset on top of it. I'm out for tonight too. Have a good one, Tetron. I appreciate there's someone isn't crazy trying to prove how right there all the time. Thank you, X1. Thank you. I really, really try so hard to just keep it real on this channel. Not sell any hopium. Like, yes, it's fun to talk about some theories and speculation and just different stuff going on, but like just trying very simplistic approach. Nothing too crazy. Just like a lot of people watching this, I'm just learning and figuring it out as I go. So appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Tether will need to be straightened out before Bitcoin's viable. Tether's how they're printing it with new ETF taking short. Good for you, smart money. Yes, it is. Thank you, Pepitoshi. But yeah, that's the thing. I have to read more about Tether. Honestly, put that on the to-do list of a million notes on my desk. Because Tether, I don't know, it does seem so funky to me. It seems so funky. I have to look into who their parent company is and how deep the rabbit hole goes. Right? I'm sure the Winklevoss twins have Bitcoin all figured out. Yeah, to be fair, they've been talking about it forever, right? They're the guys with Gemini, and that's getting advertised right here. Yeah, they're interesting. I don't know too much about them, but what a journey, guys. What a journey. It's crazy. These streams lately, it's insane how all of a sudden I'm like, damn, I'm like 3 hours in. Crazy. Like I said before, only in GME is MOAS and need fiat to trade for Bitcoin. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no, I think there's a decent amount of people, definitely not everyone, that are largely in Bitcoin and GameStop. That is mostly me, but for me, like I still buy 401k. And personally, again, not financial advice, just sharing my opinions here and what I'm personally doing. Doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. But for my 401k, I just do 100% S&P 500. They have target funds like 2060, which basically means like targeting retirement in the year 2060, target 2050, and then basically if you keep in one of those funds, like as time progresses, they put less in stocks and like more in bonds, like basically less risk over time. But for me, I'm 24. I got a long way to go. Knock on wood, please. Really hope so. Really hope so, God. But with S&P, it's the longest, most consistent performer. So I've just, since I started this job 2.5 years ago, I'm just S&P, 100% S&P for my 401k, and that's just me. That's just me, but yeah, we'll have to. Yeah, I'll let you guys, Coffee and Pepe, you guys keep this going in the chat about Bitcoin and Tether. I definitely love to talk a little bit more about it next time, towards the end of the stream like this, but I got to wrap it up. I'm burnt out at this point, to be honest, guys, but I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for watching. Just know this journey will have more ups, more downs, more lefts, more rights, more twists, more turns. It's going to have it all. And that's already what it's had this whole time, so I don't expect anything to change here on out. So I'm just going to keep trying to report on it as accurately as possible because the mainstream media doesn't want to accurately report on GameStop and various other financial things. So try and just call it as it is, as I see it. And I won't always get it right. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I'm human like everyone else out there. So please, don't ever blindly follow anything I say. Always do your own research. Always do your own due diligence. It's incredibly, incredibly important. So I'll leave it there. Thank you guys all for being here. I hope you have a great night.